Alrighty, it looks like we should be live. Alright, sorry, I'm doing this away from Cardin, so you don't get the production value anymore at the intro anymore, guys. But I believe we should be live right now. Let me just double check. Alright, cool. I believe so. Anyway, if we aren't, whatever. So, first of all, for anyone just joining over the first few minutes here, I definitely would like to, make sure everyone had a great President's Day weekend and President's Day, very important holiday. As you can see, I'm enjoying my President's Day weekend. But first of all, you know what? While we're getting started, I have a question for just chat while you guys are first getting in. Hey, what's up, man? What are you most thankful for on this President's Day? Specifically president related. What are you thankful for as far as our presidents go? Any president you're thankful for? Any actions? Any president you could think of committed you're thankful for? Anything really? You're like, man, this President's Day, I just want to, seriously. I was talking just, my friends earlier about this. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys remember even why we celebrate President's Day. Like, why we celebrate President's Day legitimately makes a lot of sense to me at the beginning. Why we celebrate President's Day as it's designed today, I have no idea. It makes no sense. As far as I know, it exists to sell trucks. I think Chevy loves President's Day. Big Five Sporting Goods, they love President's Day. I got 50 emails from a Tiger Direct. They love President's Day, man. They want to sell me some stuff, right? But I just thought while we're waiting people to join, and we'll talk about kind of that stuff I want to talk about in a second here. President's Day originally, and I remember this, I think we did a little worksheet at school about this, right? But like President's Day originally, I believe it was George Washington's birthday, I think, even though it wasn't actually his birthday. Like it was like around his birthday. It was like the Monday around his birthday or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But we used to celebrate like George Washington's birthday. It was like George Washington Day, kind of similar like MLK Day, I believe, which actually does make a lot of sense, right? The first president, he led us during the, it was 15th. That's George Washington's birthday. Used to be the original holiday. There we go. We'll go to history.com. Let's see. Just the only reason I want to go through this because what a laugh it is to think about just, let me try to tell a bit, sorry guys. What a laugh it is to imagine just like a general president's. Oh, let's just celebrate our presidents. Yeah. All those great presidents we've had over the years. All the presidents did an amazing thing. I want to celebrate all of them equally, right? We should definitely have just one day because they're all the same. You might as well. Anyway. I was just going to go through an interesting thing with people joining. So, 1885, they came up with the holiday for George Washington's birthday. Again, it makes sense. He was the first president. Some people said the best president. Did a lot of crazy things, a lot of cool things. I could definitely see. And then, listen to this. This is I want to go through it as well. So, in the 70s, as part of the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which I want to do like a full video or stream just going through. It's one of those goofy things I kind of just stumbled upon recently looking at this stuff. It was an attempt to create more 3-day weekends for the nation's workers. So several states still have individual holidays separating Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and other figures. President's Day is not popularly viewed as a thing. Yada, yada. Just for anyone's wondering why we would ever bother to have a day for just president. I mean, I get there are presidents, but like we don't like. I mean, like, is Nixon part of President's Day? Or are we just like, hey, Personally, I think Nixon, he's, I don't know, man. I wasn't alive when he was president, so I feel like I just get a lot of BS propaganda, like every president that was around when I wasn't alive, right? Bunch of people who know nothing about nothing were just like, I was president, I was alive then, I don't know, I didn't like the president. It's like, dude, no one ever likes the president. What the hell? How does that help me anyway? How about Hoover? Who was the guy? He was the Depression guy, I believe, right? We celebrate him President's Day. Is he part of it? But originally, it was one holiday. It was a holiday for George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. And then in the 70s, they decided, hey, let's have more federal holidays on a Monday, and we'll just make. I don't know. And they said we'll take holidays away and merge them all together. And now we pretend to celebrate. I think people would have an easier time celebrating. Like for example, no one has a hard time celebrating MLK Day in the sense of like you kind of know what it's for. Like it's the day where we celebrate. Not only Martin Luther King, but kind of the things he did and the people, the kind of the movement and all that stuff, right? Makes a lot of sense for George Washington's Day, right? Celebrate not only George Washington, but kind of the country birthday. Sorry, that was just a little aside at the beginning. I was talking to my friend, and he said, hey, I have Monday off. I'm like, is it a holiday Monday? He's like, I don't know. I guess I don't have work. And it's like, yeah, it's President's Day or something. So I thought it'd be fun to take a look at what President's Day actually is. And just kind of, I don't know. I gotta be honest. Like this weekend, this President's Day weekend, man. Some of the nonsense that's gone on over this is just. Whew. But anyways, I actually almost didn't do it. I want to get back to at least 2 normal streams Monday and Thursday. I'm still moving. I'm in a bad mood because I deal with the DMV for like a week straight in 2 states, and I'm still dealing with the DMV in 2 states. So that's why I've been in a bad mood this last week. But it's just been a weird. I don't know, man. Stuff is definitely getting weird. I don't know what you guys think, but I think stuff's definitely getting weirder. But anyway, let's get into what I want to talk about here a little bit. Just because, I will say, it's like even Yang gets a lot of hate, but it's like the one political story I'm following that isn't just like people like convinced that there's like some evil cabal that's like, we just have to use the state to do an underround and preemptively shut them down from existing because they can't be reasoned with. It's like, I'm not really interested in that kind of discussion, which seems to be everything. Like Disney is at that point. If you want to talk about Star Wars, Star Wars has kind of always been like that, but it's like the most ridiculous, benign things. It's just like, you with me or against me? Because we have to gang up to combine our forces to prevent these people from advancing their cause. It's like, dude, we're talking about football. What are you talking about? Sorry. I digress. Anyway, a couple stories came up with Yang in the New York City mayor race. And the only reason I want to touch on this really quickly, it kind of goes to what I've been saying for the beginnings. For anyone who's paying attention to this race or anything like that. Yang's the rock star front runner. Doesn't mean he's 1,000% going to win. He looks like he's going to win. He's the only one with any real name recognition. I think New York City being the kind of city of it is, they want bigger stars as their mayor. Especially mayor, I don't know, maybe the mayor does a whole lot. I feel like in a lot of situations, especially New York City. It's a big city, right? So you're like, oh, the mayor, but it's like, don't they have like all these different individual like neighborhood governments, borough have like, there's like a lot of people that have hands and individual on the floor, nuts and bolts stuff. The subways are owned by the governor because they're like, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like mayor is kind of always a figurehead position. They make some decisions, but I mean, they don't like, there's a lot of people in the government who don't. It's one of the things about government you come to realize, take a look at it. It's like, wait a minute. There's the people that come and go on the surface level, like just every 2 to 4 years, maybe 6, right? They come and go. But then there's like the people that nobody elects that actually do all the work. Like these people get together and come up with these ideas, and they just pass the work off to these people who do it, and they're there forever because they're the actual government. They're not the people we vote for every couple of years that just come and go. I mean, the people who actually are there doing the things. I imagine New York City is not too different, right? I imagine the governor can come in and tell the mayor to do a lot of things he has to do. And anyways, for entering into his running, he recently had the donation requirement. So what this means is something in New York City does, which I didn't know New York City was doing this well financially to have programs like this, but more power to them. I guess people don't need help in New York City. I guess they're at the point where they're able to just like, listen to this. So Andrew Yang hit the donation requirement in order to obtain matching city funding in the New York City's mayor race. The former 2020 Democratic presidential candidate confirmed on Sunday, yada yada. But I think they mentioned it here. So Yang, technology entrepreneur, announced in a Sunday tweet that his campaign had passed the threshold of receiving $250,000 from at least 1,000 donors in the city. I believe also interestingly on top of that is the fact that he has, I think, the second lowest or the lowest average donation, which honestly also is like the more people donating, the more likely you're going to have people donating smaller amounts of money, because I have to imagine the easiest donation to get is a $5 donation. It's a lot harder to get $2,500. I don't know what the mayor max is, right? But like $1,000 donation is probably a lot harder to get than a $5 donation. I think, and I also wonder, I think it's different. I donate $5 a month to Humanity Forward, I think. Still, so I still get emails from him all the time. Hey, thank you, by the way. So I don't think that counts towards it, but still, it's good for him. Good to see it, but it just kind of goes as well. Speaks to the fact that like Andrew Yang is such a bigger star. He's bigger. He is such a bigger. I don't know if like fundraising network's even the way to put it, but it's just like he can get his message in front of a lot more people outside of New York City. And who cares? They're sending him money. It might not get matched, but it builds his name, and then all of a sudden people look, and he just has this star quality no one else running has. So good for him in that. But I believe they mentioned here, yeah, so each dollar from a New York City resident and small contributions with a maximum of $250 can be matched by up to $8 in public funds, reaching a maximum of $2,000 per contributor. So Yang's campaign and the memo obtained by the Hill said it expects to collect more than $2 million matching public funds once the city confirms it surpassed the requirement. I don't want to do a whole thing, but isn't that say you pay taxes in New York City, right? Oh yeah, there's some. Yeah, please let me know if you guys are still working on a couple things. I still need to fix my audio stuff. I've not been able to do as much stuff as I would have liked. This thing got loose because again I was on hold with the DMV for like 2 weeks straight, but that's all over now, and I'm gonna get back to adjusting more with cables and stuff. So yeah, no, I think it's because I have an audio filter on OBS on because there was some weird fuzzy noise in the background before. It's kind of again why I'm doing just some laid back, just chill streams right now to kind of work out some of these bugs. Anyways, still though, it's like the idea of like, I don't know, like if I was, cause I'm not gonna vote for the mayor of the city I live in. Tell you that much. I don't live in the smallest city in America. I live in a decent sized city, but I'm not gonna vote for our mayor. I don't know. I would feel weird knowing that I'm paying, especially New York City. You're paying city tax dollars like crazy, right? I would feel kind of weird knowing that I'm like, wait a minute, some guy that I don't care if he runs for office or not at all, got $2 million of our tax dollars to run for mayor? Like, isn't he getting donation people already? Isn't that where that comes from? I don't know. I honestly wouldn't like it. I have to be frank. I mean, I don't live in it. One of the reasons why I don't live in New York City. It's also one of those things where it's like, I have to be honest. I used to feel a lot different about the idea of the government. But it's like the kind of thing where it's like, tell you what, man. If people are housed and they're fed and there isn't stuff falling apart, if New York City isn't debating how many police officers to have in every subway platform because it's just dangerous and people are getting stabbed all the time, I feel like until then. I don't know. I just feel weird about tax dollars getting earmarked to give to people to run for office. I can hear like it stimulates the local economy a little bit, but like, I don't know. And it's still local economy. New York City's a little bit different, right? But if you're paying just like outside, what's it called? Like outside advertising fees, marketing people, like does that really help the city that like my tax dollars go to pay for some executive to consult a politician or run ads or, you know, like ideally they're paying volunteer or they're paying, I don't know. It's one of those things, the more I look at it and break it down, the less I actually like it and I would like to see it. Anyway, because 1 minute scope said AOC Yang and the Housing Green New Deal. Thoughts? Just 1 second. And then Challenger of the World, $1 is having trouble with Super Chat. Just write your question, man, and I'll just answer it. I see it. This is kind of goes back to what I thought, and again, I haven't printed the PDF out and studied it and earmarked it and gone through each individual thing he's saying. I have to be honest, it's part of why the Yang running for mayor interests me a whole lot less than the Yang who ran for president. Like, I don't know, man. Like Andrew Yang just being like, oh yeah, I'm Andrew Yang, and instead of having all these weird radical ideas people almost like make fun of me for because they're so unique and out there, I'm just going to adopt everything people have been proposing for years. I mean, in a way, you could say that like, well, you know, like maybe they're all just the best ideas, and he's finally. But it feels a lot to me like he's just kind of he's kind of. I don't know, man. It feels like the generic easy thing. That's the low-hanging fruit, right? That'd be the simplest thing to do. Would to just be like, okay, let me get on to like the Green New Deal, a couple other things, top of my head and forget it, but just like these big kind of like progressive brand names that he can kind of co-opt to his brand to make him, I don't know, more it just I don't know. Like personally, for someone who I guess don't identify as like a progressive, like I like unique, radical, out there political perspectives that isn't like like if I hear something 50 people proposed, I've been like, 50 people have proposed that, so either they didn't give a shit or it doesn't work. Like which one is it? I don't know, and it's I'm seeing Yang falling closer to that, where it's a lot of other people have been talking about doing this. Are they just not good enough at advocating for policy, or is there something here that's not landing with people? Is there a disconnect? Because it's easy to say, because honestly, Andrew Yang could have proposed word for word the Green New Deal and worded it differently, and I'd probably like it better because I feel like at least he's trying to do something unique and new. When everyone just kind of piles onto one thing, because what happens is you get to a point where people hear Green New Deal and just start drawing conclusions. And even if it's formed and just kind of like, yeah, that's what I'm going to get to in a minute though. Because Yang didn't do that. That's what I mean. He's I don't know. I feel like Andrew Yang is just kind of borrowing slogans for his mayor campaign. I hope I'm unless I'm missing something, but I believe, I remember that controversy where Yang came out with like his green housing deal, and AOC is like, and then, it wasn't what AOC had proposed, because it does feel like Andrew Yang was kind of just co-opting a brand name that already existed and people liked, and she kind of called him out for it. I'm not a big AOC fan at all, but a bit rightfully so, in the sense of like again, it just gets back to what I'm saying, like, why isn't Andrew Yang, like, I don't know. When he ran for president, he legitimately was putting ideas out there that got him laughed at and made fun of. And I feel like that's what we need in politics. If people aren't making fun of you, and I don't mean like ridiculing you is good. I mean, like, if people aren't like confronted by ideas, like, wait a minute, what? Like, we can't do that. Like, that's crazy. Then all we're going to do is just, kind of circle in the quagmire for forever. So maybe if there's more to it, I'll get to it. But yeah, it went back and forth. Anyway, challenge of the world. I believe you asked, let me get your question. Oh, you say she challenged Andrew Yang to an economic recovery duel. I missed the question. Just put it up below, and I'll get it. Because okay, she challenged. Well, honestly, I think that's. I'm not exactly sure the full context of it, but I actually do think it's interesting. Yeah, this, in a way, taking over a city like New York City in this situation it is now, it kind of really is Andrew Yang actually putting his money where his mouth is, right? This is literally the thing he said he'd be good at and able to do, and, well, this would be it, man. Like, taking New York City and turning it around. Like, this would be. So I don't know if it's exactly the kind of comment you're making, but I do agree in the sense of, like, this is the challenge. This isn't putting his money where his mouth is. Like, if he says he can do this kind of stuff, this is the challenge, man. New York City is. I mean, I guess he could do it with Detroit, but he's not from there. I mean, some other big American cities that have fallen on tough economic times. But yeah, dude, New York City is not going to be, especially, I believe I heard recently, what was it, like Wall Street was like, New York City tried to pass some kind of, I think like Wall Street traders threatened to leave the city basically. Because they're like, sorry, if you impose these trading taxes, I believe. My other point being is that it's like, dude, this is not, this is not the greatest place to be economically necessarily. It's New York City. It's not like, poverty stricken. But yeah, it's like if anyone needs help turning around, New York City does. But yeah. Sorry. But anyway, though, the other thing I wanted to bring up, though, and they mentioned it at the bottom of this Hill article, along the lines of Andrew Yang. Again, as someone who was really interested in the presidential campaign of Yang, I'm not like, I think actually I still have my poster from when I went to the Yang rally out here in New York City last year. It's in the background. Or not even last year, a year and a half ago, a year and a few months ago now, but still over a year ago now, right? Enough time has passed for it's like, yeah, dude, when Andrew Yang was doing that, I thought he would. I remember what it was like. He would say stuff like, I remember I brought this up multiple times. When he first started running, I was going through his border policy, and he basically didn't want to build a wall, but he wanted to turn the Rio Grande River into essentially a moat. Like he said he wanted to revitalize and make it a big river again, so it was like a natural barrier. And I have to admit, it's the kind of thing where it's like, I mean, revitalizing a river and having it be like an ecosystem with wildlife and stuff come back again, it's not the worst thing. And then if we fix our immigration policies, people don't have to swim across the river, which should be the goal anyway, then why would it matter, right? It would literally just serve as a deterrent for people who are trying to break the law because you wouldn't have to break the law to get in. But no, that's in typical U.S. Because again, Andrew Yang, though, I felt like when he first approached his presidential run, he was looking at problems in a way of like, there is problems, and people are obviously putting forward generic, stupid solutions that don't work. What is the root of the problem? How do we address that root? And what are some ways that might be interested and kind of weird and radical that we could do that? And I feel like now I'm not seeing that as much in his mayoral race. His mayoral race is more like he keeps having to do like this weird, like, I'm a real New Yorker. Who cares? People think you're real New Yorker. Is Bill de Blasio a real New Yorker? Is Michael Bloomberg a real New Yorker? You know, like what is this? Like, like why is he why is he like constantly like not like overcompensating, but like why isn't he just say like I don't care if people say I'm not a real New Yorker. I've lived here for X amount of years. Yeah, I left for the last few years doing political stuff, but now I'm back. I don't care. Why is it he's always like getting in like oh here's me doing this. I'm a New Yorker. He's pictures of me in New York City here. Pictures of me in New York City then. Again, I don't live in New York City, but it's like what the hell, dude? Like what is this? And then he finally gets some of his policy stuff, and it's just like, oh, just kind of what every progressive has been putting forward. I'm going to do that now. But I'll tell you what, is it working for Yang? This is a story from about a week ago now. But yeah, let's see if we can pull the poll up. I want to pull the actual poll up. Here we go. And then, there we go. Hey, did that work? That worked. I wasn't even looking at OBS, guys. I was just navigating. But here we go. Yang holds the highest awareness, and voters likely aware. This is... Honestly, you can poll people on who they want to vote for and stuff. It's probably what wins you an election is when 85% of people have heard of you, and then, Scott Strager, Eric Adams are at 60, and then no one else even close. Well, 33% of people have heard of Maya Wiley. She seems to be, if you look at, like the kind of journalists on Twitter, the only other person running aside Andrew Yang. You ask New Yorkers, and apparently most of the people doesn't know she exists. Apparently I am weird. I'm in the 70s. I'm in the 33% of people who know who she is living in Los Angeles. Not Los Angeles. I lived there for so long. I was gonna say living on the West Coast. I guess you could say. I don't know where the coast anymore. Out here in Nevada, I'm more aware of her than I guess in New York. Like this is the thing. Like Twitter's not real life. You read these Twitter takes and stuff. Like even with Andrew Yang being popular on the internet, like yes, everybody at least is aware of him who they ask. And honestly, I mean. Unless you're very infamous, right? Like that's probably going to be the thing. And then I believe this was the one I wanted to show as well. Here we go. Andrew Yang's his name on the far left. I'll adjust it a little bit so you guys can see better. But you can check out right here. They say, if the election were to happen today, who would you vote for? And Andrew Yang is just 28% is dominating. In a race with this many people running. Being almost double-digit points ahead of don't know / undecided is actually a huge deal. You'll notice nobody else, and I believe the way this is worded to you guys is kind of weird. The orange bar is how many people have heard of you, and the blue bar is what percentage of people polled are going to vote for you. That's why it looks really weird. But you'll notice that every candidate but Andrew Yang is losing to undecided / don't know, and Andrew Yang is beating undecided / don't know by 10 points. Which is, this is kind of like the way politics works. When you're this interesting radical candidate with all these really cool, interesting new ideas, and you want to get in there and shake things up, everyone makes fun of you and rigs the debates and the polls, and they kind of just make it impossible for you to succeed. And then once you just adopt all the lame, boring talking points everyone else has adopted, you get to be mayor of New York City and do nothing and get blamed for all their problems. It's politics, man. That's politics. You want to play games with these people? That's what they do. Because I'm big on polls. Don't really mean that much. Because literally all a poll means, let's get the margin here. Like literally all a poll means is we asked a couple hundred people something. We asked 842 people online something, and this is what they told us. Doesn't mean, you can't extract. However, I would say, yeah, Andrew Yang just kind of reaffirms what I've kind of assumed the whole time. He's the big star. Most people are just going to vote for someone they've heard of. And he's a pretty, amicable guy. Like he's a nice guy. People tend to like him. And he has some interesting ideas, but a lot of them are kind of just folded into the more generic, what a lot of more progressive kind of new wave politicians are talking about. And it gets to my theory. Politicians love to advocate for stuff they know will never get passed because it's safe. They don't have to actually deal with the burden of now doing it. You know what I mean? It's easy to just advocate things you think will never get passed. You don't have to worry about implementing it. You don't have to worry about being wrong. You don't have to worry about actually doing it. You get to just do it. You can just talk a big game for as long as you want. And then after a while, just go, sorry, can't be done. Can't be done. Cardin's back in Los Angeles. I'm in I guess anyone who didn't see or anyone unaware, I recently moved to Southern Nevada. And, yeah, so I'm still getting my studio together. You guys might notice some weird stuff with the microphone, some slight echo, pretty barren walls. Still working on this. I had about a 10-day detour dealing with the government, but that's done. Can the broadband without AD? No chance. 0 chance. Honestly, if AD is shut down, I would say LeBron should shut it down for the season as well. Just make it a BS excuse. He's got like he's like in basketball years like a million. Oh, sorry, Southern Nevada. So just the Las Vegas area, I guess you could say. I don't actually live in Vegas, but it'd be the easiest way to describe it. No, Carden's actually in chat earlier. He's still here. He's still with us. It didn't. I'm not getting hit by the snowstorm at all here either. I think a little bit north, like a little bit north from like northern Las Vegas, like that area had some slight snow a little while ago, and further ahead beyond that, there was also some snow. Are we still going to do the show together? Yes, it's probably going to be weird in the short term, just because Carden's got busy guy, got a lot of stuff going on as well, and I'm in the middle process of my move. But yeah, we definitely intend to do more work together. Yeah, AD's gone for 2 to 3 weeks, like Achilles stuff, man. I remember when Richard Sherman was in and out with Achilles injuries for the Seahawks, and then he ruptured his Achilles and missed the whole year. So, gotta be careful with that stuff, man. You don't want to pop an Achilles. Remember, Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles in the playoffs in 2019. He played his first game like a few months ago. I mean, like, weird season, granted, right? But like, it's a big deal when you do stuff like that. Is this the end for the PSP studio? No, it's not. You'll be seeing it again soon. It's just the short-term change. We've moved a little bit. The times change. To be honest, right? It's just a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of different stuff going on in our life, different projects going on. That's what we're gonna do in Sly Cactus, by the way. Once Carden's a little bit more. Remember, here's the thing. Remember, I'm just like a dumb guy. I got nothing going on. And I mean that like a disparaging way. I just mean Carden's got like a business and kids and a family and stuff like that. Like he legitimately has a lot less time to do this than I do. So, I'm just kind of doing it right now. There's a part of the body called the Achilles. Yes, there's a tendon. If you feel the thing right above like that bottom part of your heel, that little weird squishy thing right there, believe that would be the Achilles tendon. Yeah, actually, it was interesting. Speaking of, when Kevin Durant ruptured his Achilles tendon playing for the Golden State Warriors under pressure from fans and people when he shouldn't have been playing anyway, you could actually see in his leg this little shockwave when basically the band in his leg snapped. You could see it roll up his leg in slow motion. It was pretty gross, but yeah, that's you learn about a lot of weird anatomy stuff by being a sports fan. For example, I don't know a whole lot about it, but the foot condition plantar fasciitis. I don't know, it's something, but all I know is a lot of guys miss games because of it. So your feet must hurt real bad from the sporting events. Sorry, so I want to get back to a little bit, but just the run though, because this is kind of what I wanted to get into a little bit as well. Like following along too much about like the day-to-day, like, was Andrew Yang doing good today? Was there a controversy involving Yang today? Was people mad at Andrew Yang? Like, by the way, Andrew Yang got another dumb tweet today. He was kind of like I don't know, I don't want to put words in his mouth too much. For whatever reason, he didn't feel the need to tell people anything. Like, I got the feeling from him that what he was trying to say was, it's getting dangerous in the subways. We need to make sure there's more police and more people protecting people on the subways. Especially with sporting events and other things opening up soon, we're going to see more subway travel. But because he didn't want to word it that way, he's just like, hey, they should make sure people can travel with public transportation safely to sporting events. And people in New York City are like, they have train stations underneath the arenas. What are you talking about? And it's like, well, he was talking about people getting stabbed in train stations. He just didn't want to say that. But I think even though he apparently doesn't have that, I'm not going to say like the spine, like he's too weak, but he just doesn't have that confidence in his position where he is on his standing. Again, dude, it feels like Andrew Yang is doing this thing where he's trying to walk this fine line. Like he's reading the room a little bit too much. Like, dude, if you read every room you go into, you're a politician, man. If you're a leader, you walk into rooms and tell people, look, we need to do things a certain way to help people. I don't care about your stupid, dumb ego projects. I don't care. Like, for going back, it's a great sports analogy I want to use in this. An NFL franchise will just mire in mediocrity, and the general manager and the coach of the team will just hang their careers because they picked a quarterback who sucks, but because they picked him. They signed him as a free agent. They drafted him. They will not deviate. Like, the guy will get hurt, not play for a month. They'll win every game they play without him. And because they picked him, they put their reputation on the line. They said, I'm the big brain here. This is the guy to pick. They will just go down with the ship. And you see that I see the same thing happen with policy, it feels like. Because so-and-so put forward this policy and they staked their whole reputation on it, that has to get through. Will it help? Will it work? Could it be amended? Can we compromise? Probably, but that wouldn't work for them, right? Do we win games when the other guy plays? Yeah, but I didn't pick him, so I don't care. Is what I get from a lot of these people. And I feel like Yang's playing those games. He's walking into rooms with those people, and instead of saying, sit that guy's ass down, he stinks, I don't care who picked him, he's going, yeah, well, I guess we got to roll with him, Yeah, I believe in him too. I believe in him. I do. I really do believe in this guy. I think you're right. That's what I'm hearing from Yang right now. I'm hearing a lot of believing in someone he doesn't believe in. A lot of believing in things I don't think he believes in. Because he didn't believe him when he was writing books about things he believed in. He didn't believe in them then really that strong. I'm not saying he thinks they're dumb. It's just those weren't his ideas when he was coming up with all of his own ideas. But now that he seems to be out of the coming up with his own ideas phase, they're all coming in. All the ideas everybody seems to come up with, I guess, eventually. But he doesn't have to worry about the problem. He's probably just going to win. Again, to go back to every early data point says he's getting the most donations from the most people know who he is, and he leads every poll. He's probably just gonna win. But at what cost? And what is he winning? What is he winning? That's something I made a joke a few months ago. I'm like, why does Andrew Yang even want to be the mayor of New York City? And I'm kind of serious. Why would you? Who was the last person being mayor of New York City who was a good career move for? New York City's not going to, well, maybe New York, but New York City won't get UBI because you can't really do it in a city because you don't have a, I guess you technically could, but it's weird because you have to, who's a resident in the city? Also, someone can just drive a few miles out of the city, and it's too weird. When you do UBI in a nation scale, it makes a lot of sense. It's harder. Maybe you'd have to look at some weird stuff. People in Canada and Mexico might get some benefits, and you might screw some people in America. Because if you live near the Mexican border and you could just drive into Mexico, spend your UBI checks, and have them go further, and drive back into California, Texas, New Mexico, or whatever like that. That could be a slight issue they run into, right? Or same thing up north. You have someone just drive across the border into Canada, party in Toronto, and go back to New York City with their, and it's that UBI money is just leaving the country, or they go online and buy things from other countries. Yeah, but I feel like in a city, it's way easier for some of that money to stay in the city, but a lot of it to just people. I'm gonna go spend money outside of the city where everyone doesn't have these $1,000 checks and things are cheaper and money goes farther. Because if you have one city where everybody in the city has this basic income that people outside of the city don't have, it probably would actually lead to some pretty decent inflation in the city on some level for the less touristy stuff, the more, just because everyone literally does have more money. I don't know. That's why I still think UBI works on larger federal scales. But even then, you look at what Andrew Yang is proposing. Andrew Yang is proposing basically expanding welfare programs, which is what UBI is supposed to kill, is the expand. Because if you just periodically expand welfare programs, they're generally speaking very inefficient use of funds. And the more of them we have, the more bloated they become. Eventually, it just bursts the funds. There isn't enough funds to be spent that inefficiently to do this many things. Also, all of a sudden, you have, for example, the local city I used to live in, smaller city I used to live in, the ice arena, it's in Southern California, so they had an indoor ice rink. It was going to go out of business. Andrew Yang didn't ditch UBI. It's just his mayoral plan obviously isn't $1,000 a month for everyone. You can't do that in a city. You can do it as the president, but as the mayor, he's not trying to expand welfare. It's just his direct cash payments, they're going to be means tested. And they're basically going to be things that already exist in New York City. They already have in a lot of cities already have means tested programs for the most disadvantaged, whatever euphemism they want to use, for them to get some additional cash benefits. Maybe he would have a little bit less strings attached. But the whole point of why UBI could be successful is that UBI isn't the government being the big brain saying, if we help them with this money, them with this money, and them with this money, then we'll have created this perfect, web of helping and it makes things better. But no, it's but it's actually way better for the government to just give people money and then let them show the government where it's lacking and where it isn't. And then they can fill the holes. Get my points to make. My little local town I used to live in, the ice arena went out of business, or they were going to go out of business. So the city just bought the ice arena. Because they're like, honestly, like, people like having a place to ice skate in town. There's a lot of, like, youth hockey leagues, a lot of local events. We don't want to lose this. We're just going to buy it. We're going to earmark it. And it wasn't cheap, dude. It was like 10 plus million. However, because it's a smaller city that doesn't have to basically function as every single vital... because the government of that small city doesn't have to be everything. It's not the number one housing provider. It's not the number one provider of every single thing to everyone. And it just kind of manages the city. They're like, hey, we have money left over. This is a very wealthy town. Don't get me. It's very wealthy, very unique. What I'm saying is, yes, like if America was as wealthy as it kind of like to think it was, it would be a lot easier to just direct money towards things that are popular and people like. But no, instead we have money going into, I mean, like just... Okay. I'm sure there's been some studies, but I wonder what the truth is. When the federal government has $100 bill and they say this $100 bill is going to go out as some kind of cash aid, I wonder what the number is that ends up in the pockets of actual people the aid is going to help directly. Is it... Does $50 go to the people in aid? Does like 50-50? Does half kind of get skimmed off the top? 70-30? Does most go to the people? I have a feeling it's probably closer to 80-20. 80% gets wasted by the government. 20% makes it out the door to help people. Okay, L done too, and I'm not trying to put you on blast, man, but I appreciate this comment actually. You said, I hope once he becomes mayor, he flips the script and goes full old school Yang. I keep thinking he's holding back because too many eyes on him at the moment. I mean, I gotta be honest, man. Like, why would he go back, right? I understand the key word in that sentence is hope, and I agree, man. I hope as well. But think about it. Why would he go back? If this works, maybe here's the thing. I don't think he's that Machiavellian. I don't think he's a schemer where it's like, aha, I'll pretend to sacrifice my morals, but at the last moment reveal. It's like, no, I think he's just kind of like, okay, I guess I got to kind of go along. Like, again, dude, I mean, there's a reason why there's a reason why America in particular lacks leadership. We don't have any leaders, so it's really hard to be a leader, is because it's not easy, man. Every single thing is working against you, and every single person is trying to pull you down. There's nothing that will get you targeted more in politics than being someone who actually gives a shit and wants to help people and works hard and is successful. They will cut you down at the knees immediately. Because do you know who's above you? Always. People who don't give a shit, don't work hard, and are weak cowards. And they know people who aren't weak cowards, don't give a shit about anything but themselves, make them look bad. So only people like them, only the weakest, only people that will sell their morals in 50 cents to anyone that asks, only they get to advance because anyone else makes them look bad. I wish I could come to more difficult conclusions than that, but it's just every time I look and everything, again, get it back to even in NFL, that ruins NFL franchises, NBA franchises, governments, businesses. The same thing ruins all of them. Oh shit, that guy makes me look bad because he's actually good at his job. He actually cares about the people. They're actually willing to sacrifice to help people. I'm not. Fuck them. They gotta go. If they don't go, everyone's gonna look at me and say, wait a minute. You say you want to help us, but look at what that person's doing. They're actually like helping us. They're like going out on a limb for us. They're walking in front of crowds and saying unpopular things and getting booed because they want to help us. Why aren't you doing that? And they're like, oh, because they're actually evil. Get rid of them. Bad. Shoo. That's my favorite. It's because they're actually evil. That's my favorite. And you'll see people actually make that argument. Someone will say, wait a minute, but they're actually helping people. Why aren't you doing anything? Oh, because they're actually only doing it for themselves because they're actually bad people secretly. It's like, yeah, okay. Okay. Not projection at all. Definitely not projecting. My favorite thing ever is when these like just obvious midwit lunatic, just like the deranged Twitter class of people won't shut up about imposter syndrome, which I understand the phenomenon. And to be frank, it's ironic. There's like two groups of people that seem to have the biggest issue with imposter syndrome. Actual shithead imposters, and then successful people that are like, man, successful people that are good, moral people and are like, why do I deserve success other people don't? Even though they worked harder, maybe did deserve it in some way, they're going to be like, but hold on a minute. Like, I'm not better than other people. I'm just a regular person. That's a small part of it. I think the larger part of the larger part of the imposter syndrome discourse on the internet is just absolutely just morons who have got scooted along because they make people look good in comparison to them. And they're like, I actually don't feel like I deserve to be where I am. And like, I hear some of these people and I'm like, dude, reading your work, I agree. I have no idea why you are either. Right? No, dude, trust me, Yang's fine with people working against him. He gets it. He understands. Like, you'll notice most people, like, honestly, Andrew Yang coming back to run for mayor says a lot about his experience. Here's the thing. I'm not even trying to say Yang's, like, the worst guy. It's awful. I'm just talking about, like, Yang, to me, is what I've seen happen. Like, I followed him from when his campaign was first getting traction. I obviously heard about him when he first started getting big, but I've been following from there to where he is today. And dude, it's just, I don't think he's like dope. It's like flawed or awful. It's just, yeah, what happened to him is what happens to almost everyone who goes up against the establishment machine is you lose. All of a sudden you start, remember when he said one day everyone's either I'm going to win or everyone's going to sound a lot like me? Well, he lost and he's starting to sound a lot like other people, you know? And it's just, it's life, man. Not everybody wins, right? I'm a huge Dodgers fan. I remember them losing in the World Series every year, just being crushed and devastated. But hey, they weren't even in the World Series for about a decade before that. It's just, that's life. Like, sometimes you really do think people are better than that. I'm not saying he's like better than that, but you think people can rise up to a challenge you know you damn well aren't going to be able to rise up to. Maybe he can. And I don't know. From the outside looking in today, I think he's learning how to be a politician. I mean, there's no learning how to be a politician and then like using that for good. Like, you learn to be a politician and then you just become a politician. But I guess to my point, challenger of the world, I think a decent, good-hearted person, a lot of them do give up on politics. And that's their like reaction is they go, I can't be here with these people. I can't be around these people behaving the way they insist I behave. I'm not saying Yang's a bad guy. I feel like he's struggling with that now too. But it's, you know, it's tough. I would have. It's tough. But just him saying he wants to go back in those waters and, you know, get into these fights again. And it just feels like when Yang's walking into these fights he was walking into in 2019 and 2020, it's a lot less screw you. I know who I am. I know what I believe in. I'm going to go about everything I want to go about. And it's a lot more, wait a minute, weren't just like a bunch of Democrats proposing the same thing before you months ago? Aren't you just kind of like borrowing It just kind of feels like, why isn't he that guy anymore? But it's life, man. It's life. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess what politician has lived up to any like belief or standard anyone has in them, you know? Like, the ones that get ahead, like I said, the ones that get ahead only care about themselves and they're idiots because they don't threaten anybody above them. If you actually threaten people, if you actually light a fire into their ass, if you actually make people think, hey, maybe these people should be doing more for us, they get rid of you. And I think that's where Yang was. Yang was lighting a fire in people's ass and saying, hey, I'm threatening to become president and give these people direct cash checks to boost our economy because you idiots are you're just messing with it. You're just manipulating and rubbing your hands in it and accomplishing nothing. And he was like, I'm going to accomplish something. And then they beat him down, man. Remember all the stuff they put him through? I remember all the stuff they put him through. To this day, he has to answer questions about alt-right white supremacist fans. To this day, he has to answer those BS questions because they got seeded as the truth. It's just like, they don't just let people get ahead like this. They really do. And you can just see it time and time and time again. I still think of the people running, honestly, I believe in Andrew Yang more than I haven't thoroughly vetted each and every person running for mayor, but I've seen Andrew Yang enough. I don't think he's evil, right? I think he's, letting himself be taken a bit too much for a ride. I think he's definitely sacrificing more than he needs to sacrifice to get where he needs to get. I think he's doing what I and probably everybody else in the situation would do, and he's not standing up to these people, pounding the table and telling them to go screw themselves. He's working with them. But it's just these people, that's their whole game. It's their whole shtick, because they work with you. They make deals with you, and then what do you know? You're just doing their bidding. because that was the works and the deals they were making with you. Dude, I remember reading, I don't know what you guys think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I remember reading Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about when he was like, he literally said, he's like, one day I realized, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, I realized one day that I'm never going to be allowed to do any of the things that I want to do that I think will help people. They just won't let me pass them. I will try to get the bills done. And like, even when he's like, I'll go to the Republicans, I'll go to my own party, and they'll tell me 50 reasons why I can't do this thing to help the Republicans. And he's like, and then I decided to just sit in my office and smoke a cigar all day because they won't let me do anything anyways. And I'm a bit of a Schwarzenegger fan. I'll admit, I've always loved his. You know, thing he had the kind of attitude that I thought might work for. Like, you have to just be willing to have people hate you and think you're an arrogant shithead when you run for office. If you aren't, then all you're going to do is you're just going to say things that make people happy and do nothing, right? Like, you can either do things that make people happy and piss them off with what you say, or you could say things that make people happy and just do nothing for them. That seems to be. I'm not saying those are the only things in life, but that seems to be the kind of politicians we get, right? You get politicians that are like, I don't care what you say, man. I'm going to do this stuff for my constituents, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. I'm going to do it, right? That's why I won't even talk about some of the forbidden names, but some of these people, even if I disagree with what they're doing, if somebody's like, I'm going to stand up here and fight for what my constituents told me to fight for, that's their job, man. They're our representative. They aren't our dad. They're not our mom. You know? They aren't our principal or our teacher. They're our representative. And if they represent a bunch of loons that want them to do something crazy, well, guess what? That's who they represent. A bunch of loons that want them to do something crazy. Now, in a way, it's their job to be like the representative and say, hey, guys, no. Right? Like, but again, it's their job to come to the people they represent and kind of explain these things to them. It's not their job to just do it. And I think too often you get a lot of executive decisions from representatives. And they just get elected, though. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I've just been lately really, like I said, I've been dealing with the government a lot and following the nonsense in our own, like, dealing with local governments is annoying enough. And I look at the nonsense going on with the federal government. Just look at all the, we're getting into trade beef with Mexico probably because guess what? The power outages are so bad. I guess we're shutting off power to Mexico right now. Lovely place. What is it? We had the, hey, you know what? You know what I think is an underrated thing people aren't talking about enough yet? Obviously, Donald Trump was not going to get convicted. You can't convict the president on President's Day. Come on. You can't impeach the president on President's Day weekend. What were they thinking? Obviously, he was going to have a President's Day weekend miracle and pull it out. And what do you know? He did. He had his President's Day weekend miracle. They couldn't wait 1 week, huh? They had to test him on the one weekend. The one weekend where the energy of the universe is channeled to all of our former presidents. That was the weekend tested him. But yeah, it's just all this stuff going on. It's just been, it's been, you know what? It's been one of those, I don't know. Let me know. Maybe it's just the news I'm consuming, but I try to consume well-rounded news so this doesn't happen. It just felt like a downer week, you know? Like news-wise, like in general, like in particular, like it's been a bad week for news, even on top of how weeks for news are normally bad. Like I love it. Like I guess they made the decision. Hey, speaking of our representatives made the decision to turn the nation's capital into basically a fortress for the foreseeable future through the end of the year. Wow, I love it. I love that my tax dollars are going towards turning the Capitol into a military base. I love that, man. Makes me love being an American. Makes me really believe in this country. Makes me feel like if I put more in, I'll get more out, you know? Well, the thing I thought was funny about the Trump impeachment was like I was listening to the impeachment manager's argument, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, so we're going to hang Trump for treason? That's what we're going to do? Like, we're going to hang him for trying to overthrow the government and leading a mob of people with pitchforks, basically? Like, and then, yeah, of course they backed away. No, they aren't. These people are idiots. What were they thinking with that? I don't want to get too far, but what were they thinking? Like, they're obviously too cowardly to bring the guillotine out and, you know, kill Louis the 15th or whatever. They weren't going to do that. They're just going to be like, never mind. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. That one just still cracks me up. That's what cracks me up. It's like, which one is it? Is it not? Is it something that it's like, you know, like it wasn't really that big a deal? Or is it like he needs to be hung for treason? Which one is it? I guess Democrats couldn't decide, man. They kind of fell somewhere in the middle. it's not that big of a deal to do like a full trial with witnesses and everything. So like, I don't know. I guess treason's okay. Like, what the hell was that all about? Like, seriously, I'm listening to the arguments they're making, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like, if that's what you believe and you prove that to be true, we have to kill people. Like, we can't let people like that in this. We can't let someone like that stay in this country. At least exile them to a foreign country. I mean, yeah, we can't stand for what they were describing Trump for being responsible for. I guess they eventually realized that. Like, holy shit, like, I guess we're kind of walking ourselves off a cliff here. I mean, maybe we should rein it in a bit. And they did. They just gave up and said, I don't know. Yeah, the lunchtime party program thing. Yeah, Mitch McConnell thinks that Donald Trump is a traitor who tried to lead a basically militia army, his own improvised army, loyal to him personally, to violently overthrow the government and then personally execute and murder all of our elected officials. But, you know, impeachment's too far. That's what Mitch McConnell truly believes. Like, these people are just so, like... I guess when you just live in absolute abject fairy tale land, you don't realize that, like, regular normal people who have, like, bills and jobs and, like, lives to worry about, they don't spend all day in your BS head, and they just read what you're saying, and they're like, what the hell are they talking about? We're killing our old president? Why? You're like, well, no, we just gotta hold him accountable. How do you hold traitors accountable after they try to overthrow the government? I mean, Napoleon didn't even try to overthrow the government. They just sent him to an island. Then he came back with an army and took the country over again. In one of the coolest moments in history, right? But yeah, you don't get to just let that guy hang out. Like, if he's guilty of this, dude, we gotta get the gallows out, man. It's like the one crime we shoot people for, right? That's like the one. That's like guarantee. It's like, yeah, treasonous traitors, they gotta go. But no, they of course weren't gonna do that, and they walked it back and gave up. Well, but here's the thing. In order to think, Rasputin, that they can put on that drama and then serve the donor class and not have blowback on them and not have people look at them as clowns, that's the fairy tale land they live in. Thinking they can actually walk this line, do the high wire thing, and not have regular people go, do you think we're stupid? Or are you just this deranged? Which one is it? Like, I love the argument that people are like, we can't let Trump run again because if he runs again, his followers will, like, they won't accept defeat. It's like, wow, maybe we should put him in camps then. If these people, like, literally can't exist in the same country as us because they can't be reasoned with, and Democrats can never win their votes over because they're just diehard cult members that are going to try to overthrow the government again, what do we do with those people? I have a question. What do you do with a militia, essentially, that is devoted to violently overthrowing the government, no matter what? They're so devoted that you have to prevent people from running for president because if they're just allowed to run, their army of insane people will overthrow the government like a wave. Like, what do we do with people like that? Do we just make sure all their rights are protected by the federal government? And do we just love them as our neighbors? Just crazy. It's like people are talking in ways where it's like, dude, do you even think at all about what you're saying? And who, like it's like no one even asked that question. What do we do? Look, people will literally say, there's this group of people that's just like evil incarnate, can't be negotiated with, can't be reasoned with. It's like, what do we do with those people then? Do we just live next to them? That makes no sense. I'll be honest, because I don't believe this, by the way. I don't believe that there's anybody, any group of people in this country that are in this world that are just evil, cannot be reasoned with, and must be destroyed no matter what. I do not believe about anyone. But it's like, I don't know. It's just like for whatever reason, mainstream political discourse is my opponents can't be reasoned with. It's like, well, dude, if they can't be reasoned with, they should probably be destroyed. I don't know. I mean, I believe people can be reasoned with. That's why, as someone who believes people can be reasoned with, if someone tells me this group of people literally cannot be reasoned with, they literally live in fantasy land and will just they cannot be allowed rights and stuff. It's like, well, dude, I mean, wow, like, what's the solution here then, right? But again, I guess thankfully most people are idiots. It doesn't matter. It's just words, thoughts come in one out, they go out the other. Who cares? Because I don't know. It's like when I sit there and listen to people saying, "Trust me, I'm an idiot." That's what worries me. It's like I'm an idiot, dude, and I'm hearing this stuff. Like, wait a minute, I'm just thinking a little bit, and I'm like, what the hell, man? I'm a dummy, and I'm thinking this stuff through, and it gets scary. I mean, maybe if you got a big enough brain, it makes more sense. I don't know. Maybe the big brains, there's an option 3 between an enemy that wants to kill me and can't be reasoned with. Maybe there's some option that they don't know about. But I don't know. Like as a big old dummy me, I hear this stuff and I think, well, if there's this force of abject evil that will just destroy us if we don't act what's funny? There's like this there's this concept in history you'd see would come up a lot. The idea of a defensive war. Right? This idea that certain nations, they just needed to be proactive about other countries because they might get ideas and invade us. So, just the safe thing to do, the defensive thing to do is to declare war on them first and invade them first. And it's like, or you're just, maybe. It's like, maybe. Or you're just paranoid delusional. Sometimes they're probably right? If you say that person's massing an army, if I fight them now, they won't be able to defeat me. Okay. Sure, I guess that makes sense. But a lot of this stuff doesn't feel like this, man. A lot of this stuff just feels like insanity. It just feels like, I don't know. And maybe it's just social media, but it's like I go on social media and I just feel like I'm reading the most paranoid, depraved comments. Just one after another, after another, after another, after another. Just delusions, paranoia, all kinds of, the idea that people think they can just like read everybody's mind and know exactly what they were thinking at every moment. I'm pretty sure that's actually one of the things where it's like if people are like schizophrenic or they have like certain mental conditions, that's actually I think that's actually a thing with schizophrenia. Like if they're trying to diagnose people with it, that's like one of the things is they're like, oh, do you believe you can basically in a way kind of read other people's thoughts? Like maybe not literal mind reading, but you can kind of deduce exactly what they're thinking. Because obviously, no one can do that. But some people are kind of deluded and think they can. And it's like, that just seems to be what I read on the internet. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why are people... I'm sorry. It's something that's what been bothering me lately. Going through a lot of just crazy stuff, man. Just people saying crazy. Like, seriously, it's like I can't even open up Twitter. It's like I open up Twitter, scroll through for 5 minutes, and I'm just like, oh my God. We live in this country of crazy people. There's a part of me that feels like it protects America. Because if I was a foreign country and I was looking at the United States of America, dude, keep those freaks over there. Don't let those freaks know we exist, man. Could you imagine? There we go. Yeah. Sleepless said Wokistan versus Magistan. Could you imagine if Wokistan and Magistan joined forces against one enemy? The combined paranoid delusions that'd be going on right there. It would be, we would literally have an army of the most insane, depraved people that the modern world had ever seen. If we somehow got both of our crazy extremes together against one foreign enemy. Oh my God, it would be, oh my God. Honestly, maybe that's America's salvation, right? Maybe that's ironically enough how we pull ourselves out of all this. If someone does, kick the hornet's nest again and wake America up for some reason. All of a sudden, Americans realize, wait a minute, it's much easier to hate people in foreign countries than hate my neighbors. I'm going to hate them instead. Imagine when we team up that way, man. It's going to suck for a lot of people, but I mean, I don't. I wonder if that's why it's like China and Russia and stuff screw with our social media so much. They're like, we gotta keep these freaks occupied. If these psychos realize we exist and start turning their attention on us, oh my God, that'd be the worst. And it's working. I mean, go back to just some of the ways that the impeachment managers were talking about that impeachment hearing. It sounded like justification for domestic drone strikes. And I'm not saying they want to blow up America, but I just mean I was hearing what they're saying, and I'm like, damn, dude, that's a very good case for launching missiles at America. Which is crazy, but they're making very compelling arguments for why it's a good idea and should be done. And it's like, why are they talking this way? How is this ever going to make anything better? Yeah. Well, Steve Mack, my dad just bought some ammo because he thinks Biden's going to come after people who are Republicans. Well, I would just encourage him to look at the Democrats who were convinced that Donald Trump was going to come after all the Democrats for 4 years. And never happened. But I don't know. I mean, if I will say, though, and this isn't like a Republican Democrat herder, like which side's good. It's just if the federal government did declare any political affiliation a terror group, oh yeah, they'd come for you, dude. They'd come for you with everything they got. We spent 20 years dehumanizing anyone declared a terrorist. So as long as you're declared a terrorist, you're basically dehumanizing U.S. law. Like we get to just black bag you, send you to facilities, and torture you. Just allowed to. I don't know. It's one. I don't know, man. It's hard questions. Like for example. Honestly, unless Card just tweeted something, I'm almost always the person who tweets off our Twitter account. So yeah, if you see anyone tweeting, it's probably me. I do most of the tweeting. But yeah, I don't know. Well, if you guys want to ask any questions or anything, I'll probably just wind down a little bit. But I mean, this really has felt like a really bad few weeks in American politics. Just in the sense of like, people are just getting, the insanity, the just derangement is just getting out of control, man. Out of control. I just kind of can't believe it. Like, I cannot believe the way people are talking about. Like, seriously, it's like Trump had to be impeached because his followers are basically a rabid, crazy mob that can't be reasoned with and must be destroyed by the government. It's like, what the hell, man? If that's what you believe, then I know what you're going to... Like, here's the thing. It's like, I don't know. You're not reading someone's mind. If it's just like, well, if you believe someone's evil and must be destroyed, I'm probably going to assume you're going to work towards destroying them until you prove otherwise. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't respect it. I don't respect like any Democrat or Republican. There's some people in politics I respect it. Like, for anyone that considers himself a Democrat or Republican, they're just they're team players, man. I don't respect any of them. That's why Andrew Yang has not held any elected offices. He's just gone back and forth, but we'll see what he does. I'll tell you what, man. I'll just go on Twitter and comment that it's like, hey, I don't give a shit about Trump anymore. Can we run this country, please? A bunch of people are like, you don't get it. If Trump is not held accountable, his followers will just insist he won forever. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, if you just think his followers are so dangerous he can't even be allowed to run anymore, well, then what are you going to do about him? You're just going to impeach you're just going to prevent anybody that the MAGA movement wants to run? You're going to prevent any of them from running because it's just too dangerous to let them run? So what does that mean? What does it mean it's too dangerous for someone to run for president or run for office because their followers are too dangerous? They're too unhinged. They don't believe in reason. It's like, I don't... If it's about justice, you don't impeach them, dude. You impeach someone for committing a crime. We have courts for crimes. It's why he was impeached. If they sent Donald Trump to a court and they argued that we should behead him for treason, it'd be a lot harder. So they had an impeachment they could just back out of. They could have the impeachment and say we should kill the former president for inciting a riot and being a traitor. And then they could just back away at the last minute and go, never mind, wash our hands of it. Mitch McConnell could say, I think he's guilty, but I'm not going to... It's just, I don't know, man. Tell you what, if those thoughts were implanted and you're just coming there organically, it is what it is, man. But if someone's planting those thoughts, it's like... Again, Democrats are behaving like people who literally can't believe they won. You know what I mean? How about the political prices he lost the election and his lost political capital? And here's the thing, dude. This is the thing people don't understand. And it drives me crazy. Not you in particular. People don't understand this. If the will of the American people is to have an 80-year-old president who wants to have a violent mob behead the president in the middle of the Congress, it's not your damn decision to say they're wrong. That's how democratic republics work. So if the real problem is Donald Trump's too popular to let him run again, then that's the real problem. And if he's popular for the wrong reasons, so be it. But if the real problem is he's too popular to be allowed to run again, because dumb people believe him. Whatever the reason, doesn't matter, man. This is a free country. Like, here's the thing. If Donald Trump can be this evil devil man who tried to overthrow the government and have his followers personally kill his vice president, and then he can run for election again and win, there's a bigger problem than him being allowed to run for election. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? Like, your problem isn't that he's technically allowed to run and wasn't held accountable. The problem is what he did was popular. That's what people are actually upset about. But I don't know. Tell you what. You want to know how many minutes I spend a day thinking about Donald Trump? Close to zero, because I don't give a shit about the guy. But some people, I just can't talk about. Some people are just rent-free, man. Some people are going to be on their deathbed like, I just can't believe Trump was president. I'm not trying to disparage anyone in this chat, but it's just like some of the stuff I read about the guy is just ridiculous, man. How about we hold accountable the people? How about holding accountable? You want to talk about accountability? How about all the people that lied to get us into the Iraq war? Will they be held accountable? Do you know Colin Powell gave a speech at the UN lying his damn ass off to justify a war that killed Americans, killed random civilians all over the place. He lied his damn ass off, looking at the camera, same way I am, looking at goddamn UN, saying the same bullshit. And you know what his consequence was? His consequence was he spoke at the DNC. There isn't consequences. There isn't. Demanding we have him now is just like, fine, you can have him now. But no, we won't. The reason why Trump can't be held accountable is the reason why Colin Powell wasn't held accountable and George Bush wasn't. Because you can't start holding these people accountable, because then we have to hold them accountable, and they don't have that. It's literally whataboutism to just focus on Trump all the time. That is whataboutism. That's ignoring everyone else that gets away with bullshit every day just to focus on one guy. I'm not doing that. I'm telling you, the reason why this is all bullshit, they're not going to hold any of these people accountable, because if the people in charge of holding these people accountable hold someone accountable, we'll demand it of them. We'll say, why don't we hold Nancy Pelosi accountable for the bullshit she's been doing? The insider trading she got away with for years. Why was she never held accountable for that? The insider trading all kinds of senators and Congress people do all the time. Why are they never held accountable? The Americans dead. The people dead in foreign countries. Why is no one held accountable? But again, none of that matters, right? None of that matters. We'll start with Trump because they can sacrifice him. That's all they're saying is they think they could sacrifice Trump and not have it blow up in their face. Yeah, it's got to start somewhere. Let's have it start with of everything I brought up, probably one of the least actually consequential things. People died in the insurrection. Human people died for the other bullshit. We're talking about people dying because of political decisions. Jesus, man. Politician signs a damn pen. 50,000 people die for the next 15 years as a result of it. But hey, we got to start somewhere. No, we don't. Stop looking for accountability. You're not going to find it. If you're not going to demand they're all held accountable, they'll just try to sacrifice someone and get away. You have to demand they're all held accountable, but nobody will because everyone's got their team. It's like a joke, dude. Everybody hates every congressman and senator except for the one they voted for. That one's cool because I voted for him. It's a joke. Like, he sucks ass too. Get over yourself. They're all ass. They all suck. But I don't care. Like I said, that's why honestly, I struggle doing some of this stuff sometimes. It's just like, dude, politics really. That's what I want to say, man. It's a show for fools. That's what I trying to. I wish I could find a more elegant way of putting it, but it's a show for fools. You're either putting the show on or you're the fool in the audience. That's what politics is. And I guess I'm just tired of being the fool in the audience, man. I'm going to walk out of the theater and live my life. Because the shitheads that rule over me will be the shitheads that rule over me no matter what box I check. You know what I mean? The same shitheads that make the decisions forever. That's how it is. Maybe one day it'll change. Maybe one day the people will realize. They'll realize who the true enemy is. Right? They'll realize that, I gotta be honest, man. I've literally come to the point now where I don't even think Democratic Republics are a good idea. I think they're just too easy to fuck with. They're too easy to become what every single one of them becomes. It's just too easy. It happens every time. That's why, honestly, I view the American government as more of an empire than it's like when we have these elections, the elections more or less exist so the government knows what they're going to be allowed to get away with for the next 2 to 4 years. They have the elections and they're like, okay, we're not going to be able to get away with this because people actually seem to want this, but we don't have to give it to them either. We just can't get away with doing that. But I don't know, man. Tell you what, listen to the media, vote every 2 to 4 years, donate, volunteer, read all the books, go to all the rallies. And then you could teach your grandchildren to do the same bullshit because nothing's going to happen, man. Sorry, I'm in a bad mood, but I really am just in a bad mood right now. I just can't believe. Because, okay, I've said this before, but do you want to know why I'm in such a bad mood, really? The reason why I'm actually upset about this is because these shitheads, these elites, the establishment, the billionaires, and their freaking politician dogs, right? They sit around and they tell themselves it's okay for them to treat us like shit because we deserve it. We're too stupid to make our own decisions. We're too dumb to do things on our own. We need them. They need to feed us. They need to clothe us, right? That we need them because we're so desperate and pathetic. That's what they tell themselves. And then we go out on the streets and we're fucking desperate and pathetic and we prove to them we need them. We prove to them they're right. We prove we don't have agency. You have to take care of our lives for us. We prove you're right to lie to us. You're right to manipulate us. You're right to screw us over because we behave in a manner that it validates in their mind what they're doing to them. It just drives me up the wall because it's like I see people just bickering and fighting over stupid bullshit the media tells them to fight over, and I'm like, you are the desperate, pathetic person they tell themselves we are, and we don't have to be. We're better than this, but we've been failed by every institution. Where are the young leaders? They don't exist because the fucking college system's a scam. It's shit. Yes, some people can definitely make use of it. You might find this a little bit weird, but smart, driven people tend to land on their feet. I love that. They point to smart, driven people that probably could have been born in a hole in the middle of a desert somewhere and got to where they were anyway. Like, well, look, college works. It's like, yes, dude, obviously smart, driven people that know what the fuck they're doing can make use of this. But just telling an 18-year-old you want to binge drink with your girlfriend when you can't do it at your mom's house, take an $80,000 loan and go to university and do it. And what do you know? You have an entire generation of worthless people. That's what they. Why do you think Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House? Why do you think Democrats insist on seniority? Because they're like, the younger generation's stupid. And then we behave in a way that validates them thinking that. They're like, told you they're stupid. Told you we need to feed them. We need to be in charge of them. We need to make their decisions because they're too dumb to make their own. And again, that's what breaks my heart. It's when I see people out there bickering, fighting, insisting their neighbor is part of some death cult or some whatever stupid bullshit the media told them to be upset about. And I'm like, there we go. We are behaving like the stupid morons that need to be ruled over, that the people who rule over us insist we are. And until we stop behaving like that, they will be right. They will be right. They're correct. When they say you're too dumb to manage your finances, you're too dumb to decide what you're going to eat, you're too dumb to decide what's good for you, I'll decide. And then we go out there and prove them right, man. We go out there and show them we are too dumb to manage our own finances. Like, you didn't realize that's some of the actual logic here. Michael Bloomberg is famous for these mask down moments. Michael Bloomberg literally said the reason why we have a soda tax is because poor people waste money on soda and get fat. So we have to step into their lives and tax it out of their income level so they stop getting fat on soda. That's what they think. They tell us. That's how they imagine us, man. And then we go out there and behave that way, right? I mean, can you say Michael Bloomberg is really wrong? Maybe the stupid part I think he's wrong. But can you say Michael Bloomberg's wrong in the fact that Americans do drink too much soda and probably waste money on it and have health issues as a result? No, we're Americans and we're allowed to. But I mean, is it wrong to make that observation? Is it wrong to say Americans are fat? Is that like a wrong observation? And then if you're rich and you're not fat and you have a lot of money and you're successful, I think you might come around to this philosophy of, wait a minute, I'm not fat. Everyone else is. Maybe I should force people to be more like me. I don't do the show to help to fix the world. Honestly, I think I have a little bit of Irish in me. I just need to have a moan. I just like to get in front of people and hold them in front of me and say, you can't leave, and then just fucking bitch and moan at them. But I can't do that right now because of the pandemic. So I'm doing it to you guys. Just kvetching, having a moan. Whatever one of my ethnic backgrounds you wanna my I'm just a saying, But it's just, I don't know, man. It just seriously breaks my heart, man. Just breaks my heart looking at this country, looking at how we act, looking at how Americans treat each other, how we treat everyone around us. And yeah, again, it makes it hard for me to say they're wrong, It makes it really hard to be like, no. These politicians that rule over us, we're gonna one day. Yeah, one day, really, it's gonna happen. How many people's grandparents were protesting in the 60s about getting us out of wars? Think about that, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like I said, just a downer stream today, but it's been downer. Again, that was one of the reasons why it's a lot of people, and this is something I've kind of come around to. You can call this coping. I don't underestimate. You have no idea. I believe in people more than anything. Actually, you know what I do that pisses people off all the time? Whenever people are like having a hard time with something or they want to give up, I just tell them dude, like you can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. You're awesome. Like you can do this. I believe it. People hate when I tell them that, man. They want to hear me say you can't do it. You're right. Give up. And I'm not saying I'm unique in that, right? It's the thing humans have. When a human being is struggling and someone's like, oh, come on, you can rise up to this. People just kind of want to go like, no, I can't. Shut up. It's natural. Maybe I'm kind of I'm a weak person in a way. We'll all do that. But it's a natural reaction, right? Our leaders were sabotaged. They don't exist. Our leaders were supposed... Our leaders were supposed to be graduating from university 10, 15 years ago and going out into the world and doing stuff, changing stuff, right? People coming into their 30s, 40s... They're supposed to be that young wave of leaders. But, yeah, where are they, right? And remember, for example, it's almost like use a military reference here, right? But it's like in the military, they promote young people to like these officer positions for a long time in military history, not just American history. Go back thousands of years. There's this idea of we need this young core of people being brought up and trained to be leaders so the army will have a revolving door of leaders. Because in the military, obviously people can die. So it's important to have people it's important not to have a bad day and suddenly you have to retrain half of all your officers, right? In politics, ironically enough, do people not die, they also don't get voted out either, right? But yeah, there should have been this point when we started grooming. There was an idea of like these young people need to take the reins. But for whatever reason, it seems like the older people just said, no, I'm not giving up the reins. We deserve them still. And I don't know. It feels like we're stuck there, It feels like we're stuck at the older people. And again, I feel like they tell themselves they deserve to hold on to these reins because, yeah, the young people are stupid. They don't know any better. They couldn't figure this stuff out. Again, they raised us, right? But not anymore. Not anymore, man. Now it's, like, seriously, what happens when Nancy Pelosi dies? It's going to happen one day, right? Like, what's she going to live to 150? She's like 80-something. Like, you saw what happened when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Why did she die as a Supreme Court justice? She could have stepped down when Obama was president, like 3.5 years earlier. Right? Why did she have to just hold on as tight as she possibly could till she literally died in office? I don't understand. Why is that the mindset of the older generation of politicians? Because she's not unique. Nancy Pelosi, apparently Mitch McConnell, they all have the same idea. Like, I will literally die in this chair before anyone else sit in it. It's like, well, how the hell are we going to get anywhere, man? I don't know. Maybe we'll figure it out one day, though, right? Actually, Corona is really telling for the fact that we're led by boomers, right? Because they were like, I literally had coronavirus. I'm not going to get into like literally the studies tend to prove that most people that are younger and don't have pre-existing conditions will be okay and can fight through it. We'll see about lasting. My only point is, you'll notice the group of people uniquely at risk of dying from COVID are also the group of people who make all the decisions in this country. It's people who own all of the media companies and make all of the decisions. They're also the people that are highest at risk. I wonder if that had any bearing on our response. I'm not in California. I literally left California for the reasons. Actually, I left California. I'm going to do a video, just a little tease of my next. I'm going to go fishing for downvotes. But no, like literally, I don't care if people think about this. I'm going to do a video or a stream on this soon. Like, apparently the progressive stance on criminal justice right now is to shield criminals from the law and just kind of throw victims out to dry. I really wish it wasn't the case, but time and time again, when Gascon got elected as DA of Los Angeles, that was when I literally was like, I have to leave this place. I cannot live here anymore. Because there's just, I'm sorry, just this progressive style of like prosecuting where it's like criminals, just go commit as many crimes as you want, fuck the regular citizens, rape them, stab them, rob them, I don't give a shit. But we're going to protect you from the state. It's like, well, how about protecting the people from the criminals? No, that's bad. Which I kind of see that. I don't agree with the logic, but the logical train of it's more important to protect criminals from state oppression than it is to protect regular people from criminal oppression. That seems to be the thing. I find that deranged and just downright anti-human. But that if that's what Los Angeles votes for, I'm going to leave. Honestly, it's like I feel like I need to travel light for the next few years because politics in this country, just like I might need to just go somewhere else for a while because I just can't stand being around these people, man. Crazy. It's just a country of lunatics, country of heartless lunatics. Here's the thing. Obviously not true. If you walk around and if you go to Denny's and just talk to a few people, it's obviously true. We're not a country of heartless lunatics. But if you look at our politicians in our political media journalist class, we feel like a country of heartless lunatics. We feel like a country just waiting for an excuse to pounce on someone and destroy them at every moment with no empathy. But it's weird. It's like it's not what it feels like when I go outside and talk to people. But when I read the news, when I follow politics, it's like people are just like, what was it? The New York Times journalist was like literally in a clubhouse room and she heard someone say a swear, like an offensive word, and was like, I'm going to destroy this person. I'm going to get their whole life ruined. It's like, yeah, dude. Fuck that guy for thinking he can accidentally say the wrong word in a room. Like, Jesus, man. How is that journalism? Just like hunting down your fellow citizen and just destroying them with the power of the state and the media, the entire corporation, state, and media complex, just crushing random individual people. I mean, it's just the most callous, evil, heartless thinking on display at all times. And again, no party is the monopoly on this. I'm not deluded. I'm not a fool. It's just part of how our political system works, but just disgusting. I see things happen in American politics, and I'm ashamed to be an American. I'm like, I kind of want to leave this country, man. Kind of can't believe this is the country I live in at this point. I didn't watch The Big Short, but I did watch a movie similar to The Big Short called Margin Call. I definitely recommend watching Margin Call. I believe Margin Call is actually available for free on not for free, but Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, I think it's on their video platform. Really, really good movie. Like in a movie that's a very strong ensemble cast, every scene Jeremy Irons is in is like he is the guy. Like he plays like the CEO of the company or whatever, but he feels above all the other actors. And a lot of great actors are in it. Paul Bettany's in it. A couple of people. I'm just I'm just blanking on the name, but I would recommend watching that one. It's while I believe The Big Short was supposed to be kind of like a retelling of what actually happened, Margin Call is a dramatic retelling of what went through at one of the big banks or trading. I forgot one of the big companies that I think it was like a trading firm that they sold everything. Right, they were the first one to sell. It's like I forgot who it actually was. I think in real life, it's like a combination of what two of these banks did at the same time. But they made a movie about it called Margin Call. Seriously, if you're gonna watch any movie about the crash, I'd recommend watching that one. It's really smart, really well done, really well acted, honestly. That's what stood out to me. I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of Paul Bettany anyway, and I thought he was great in it. Not my favorite thing he's in, but I thought he was great. Jeremy Irons is really good in it. The guy who played Spock from Star Trek, he does a pretty good job. Not Leonard Nimoy, but the recent Star Trek movies, the guy that plays Spock. A couple other actors I'm blanking on the names of, but good actors, really good actors doing good jobs. There's one guy, older actor. I'm blanking. I keep wanting to say Paul Giamatti. It's not Paul Giamatti. It's an older guy though. He has a role. Actor I like too. That's the reason why. I forgot one of the other people. Stanley Tucci is the name I was thinking of. Sorry, Stanley Tucci's in it. Tremendous actor. Also, one of the reasons why you might not hear as many people talking about Margin Call as perhaps used to is I will show you guys the original movie poster. And it's one of those movies that unfortunately, take a guess why it's a movie doesn't get talked about as much as maybe some other movies with very similar tones and ideas. Take a wild guess. What's unique about this film where it's a little bit less popular? I don't know. I can't pick. I don't know what makes this movie unique compared to other ones. But yeah, Stanley Tucci, great actor. Paul Bettany, tremendous actor. Actually, Paul Bettany's a really underrated actor, and I kind of wish he didn't do Marvel movies because now he's just going to be known as just his I honestly think his Marvel performances are unironically his worst performances, and they're just so bland and boring. I get it, he's playing some space robot guy. There's not a whole lot he's working with, but yeah, I kind of wish he didn't do that stuff so people could respect him for the actor he really is. Really good actor. Yeah. Again, I'll echo what Ann Towner's saying. Where are all the young leaders? John Monroe was 18 when he signed the Declaration of Independence. Hamilton was 21. Exactly. I mean, I'll throw out what I think it is. I honestly think it's societies need to make the conscious decision that we're going to make sure we have strong young people, basically. You make that conscious decision. We're going to select for, and we're going to train for, and we're going to make strong people to step up and lead. However, Paul Bettany's vision's not the worst thing ever. It's just, dude, have you ever seen, first of all, Margin Call is a great film. He's tremendous in Master and Commander, a couple other films. He's just a really good actor. I'm blanking, better films he's done. And you watch the Marvel stuff, and he's just kind of, I don't know, man. Every Marvel movie, who really has a character, maybe you could say Robert Downey Jr. a teeny bit, has some real, and maybe Captain America, Chris Evans. They have a little bit of meat to work with their characters, but dude, all these characters. Yeah, Da Vinci Code, I'm agree with that, but yeah, all these characters, man, it's they're comic book characters. Legitimately, a lot of them, what's his name? Iron Man is really well written. Ironically enough, one of the more deeply written characters that there actually is a lot to work with for the actor is the Incredible Hulk, and they've just decided that Mark Ruffalo is just comic relief, I guess. The Hulk is you just take a step back and look at the Hulk, and it's it's literally two men in one body. It's two minds, right? It's the duality. It's the two sides, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a bunch of stuff, and they obviously explore all of it. Movies, yeah, I don't know. He's big. What? But also here's something else too. Getting back to Ann's point, we're all the young leaders. I'll admit. Just here's the thing. I think we need to live in a society with a lot more people that are willing to admit that we're all kind of big dumb goofs walking around out here. But anyway, I knew that you're supposed to store potatoes somewhere cold and kind of damp and cool. I thought in my drying room, where my washer and dryer were off to the side, was pretty damp and cool. But anyway, so I went to go get my potatoes the other day, and to make some potatoes, and they were sprouting on them. I had never seen that before in my life. I was like shocked. I ran to my computer to Google, what the hell is this? Is it safe to eat? But that's the kind of thing, the kind of regular real life skills that people probably just learned living as, and a lot simpler stuff than that, right? I mean, a lot simpler than how to store potatoes. I mean, a lot more complex, sorry, you know? You go to the extreme, but it's like Abraham Lincoln, what's the legend? He built a log cabin for his family when he was 12. I mean, there used to be, and I guess honestly, here we go. To jump straight to my pretentious, goofy, awful answer. The reality is, I think people grow when they struggle. Like when you struggle and overcome, you grow as a person. And we live in a world with not very much struggle anymore. Like we have some struggles, don't get me wrong, but I mean the struggle isn't if I don't cut enough firewood, we might get attacked by wild animals tonight, The struggle is largely hells of our own creation, which is different, right? It's just back then, people had real world experiences and strife and hardships. You could actually see this a little bit, and I don't even know a whole lot about this guy's background, but there's a basketball player by the name of Jimmy Butler. I don't think he was had the hardest background ever, but I think he just kind of grew up like a lot of people, or he didn't have everything. He didn't have a super privileged life. He grew up with a lot of people kind of struggling, right? Anyway, he makes it to the NBA eventually. When he first makes it to the NBA, he's not a star NBA player. So he had to go through a lot of years of legitimately working really hard to get better. And he ended up becoming a star NBA player later on in his career, a little bit older. He's almost 30, 31 now. And he was having trouble because he kept getting traded to teams with young players, right? And you had this guy who, again, I don't think Jimmy Butler was I don't think he was tilling the fields at 4 years old. I think he had a kind of, maybe a little bit harder upbringing than some people, but a kind of normal life. And he's getting into the NBA and he's playing with these younger kids that have been kind of social media star kids now. And he literally couldn't play with them. He's all these kids want to do is play. There's this legendary story once where, again, Jimmy Butler, he's a basketball player who just had to work his ass off and go through a lot of hard shit to get to where he was in the NBA. And he's playing with guys that were kind of lazy and just kids that were always talented and just never really had to struggle. So he had this legendary moment in practice where he got so fed up with the talented, highly paid young millennial kids and the way they acted, he literally yelled at them. He had all of the bench players play him. He had all of the bench players, the bad players, the reserves. He played with the reserves against the starters. I don't think he let the starters score 1 point. And the entire time, he was just talking shit about them. You guys are weak, you're soft, you don't put in the work, you don't care about this game, beating them with inferior players, and then demanded a trade off the team. I think Rasputin, I want to get to Rasputin. Rasputin says that, he said, it could be wrong, but I remember reading Native Americans worked no more than 4 hours a day. I'm not talking about human beings need to be, digging 50-foot deep holes every day. But what I'm saying is, yeah, if that 4 hours is a struggle, though, and you have to learn a lot to become stronger and to do it again the next day, then you become stronger the next day. My point is, we've kind of selected for avoiding that. And I think part of it comes from Timberwolves, by the way, Sly Cactus. Timberwolves was the team where it was specifically not Jabari Parker. It was the other player drafted the same year as Jabari Parker. Wiggins. It was Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns. It was specifically those players. And Jimmy Butler is these guys are weak. They're soft. They don't practice. They don't care about this. They don't put in any of the work to get better. And he literally just played with all the worst players on his team and beat them and just ridiculed them. But again, no, yeah, it's sorry, just get to the point. I just think that's it. I think liberal societies like us, if you are a liberal society like we are, I'm not saying in the libs political, but if you're a society that believes in liberty and freedom and tell you what, challenger of the world, you can change your name and leave, I guess. What the fuck do you want from me, man? What is it though? But it's just there's the way American society works and how we feel and being Western, we obviously don't like people feeling bad And when people, honestly, I might change it to the Oracle though, because, or not the Oracle, but I might change it in the future a little bit. I'm just messing with you. Cause I don't know. Cardin came up with the name is the short answer. I personally would not have come up with that name. Cardin did. I rolled with it, but if Cardin takes a step back, I might change it. I might just go to PSP or something like that. But the thing is, seriously, we don't want people feeling bad. And the hard truth is, I mean, you can kind of look at it almost in the sense of like everyone gets a trophy, participation trophies, but I think what's like the root of that, like the actual issue at play there, right, is we don't like the fact that if everyone tries to win at something, like technically everyone fails but one person, right? One guy, one else fails, and all the people that failed felt bad, and we don't like that as a society. So when you kind of just extrapolate that over the long term, we kind of select for forcing the path of least resistance. We kind of select for forcing, like for example, if, it's like if technically, 1 out of every 100 people is good enough to do this thing, and, we offer it, because some people can do it, but most people can't, we kind of as a society are like, well, why don't we just not offer that then? If not everybody is able to do this thing, and only some people just have God-given abilities that allow them to do this, then perhaps we should move away from doing it, right? And you'll notice this, we should move away from grading certain ways. We should move away from reviewing things certain ways. I mean, I think you could see the big thing really in like, what is this thing? Like you could just see like our society is kind of skewed towards not creating the kind of leaders like it's kind of skewed from denying those experiences to people that eventually would make them to the leaders and move on, right? I mean, basically, if you mean the U.S. government really just seems to exist to like remove roadblocks and give us things. But that's the recipe for a weak country full of heartless, depraved idiots. I guess you could say that's what we're doing, Like it's just we as a society are selecting towards what we're producing what we're living with, right? We produce weak people that are incapable of leading. Like there's no like big question. Like the answer is that simple. The way we've decided to structure the American society, the way we decided to treat each other, the way we've decided to do things creates people that are not strong leaders. It creates really kind of like weak serfs, to be honest. Now, some people you could put anywhere and they'll land on their feet and be just fine. But I mean, most people are going to be products of whatever they're raised in. They're going to be products of their environments. If they're just raised to be weak and ineffective, they're going to be weak and ineffective. That's why our leaders are all old people or weak and ineffective young people, because that's what they're created to be. That's who we raise in this country. Like it isn't like seriously, like it's not that hard. It's like we as Americans have chosen weak people that have easy lives. But we have no leaders. Leadership's hard. It's like for example, I think this is a funny thing. This is a funny thing that I thought and someone said this about the difference between like business owners and employees and stuff, but it's just like the idea of like risk and benefit. Just this is, it's like no one who works at a Burger King stays up at night paranoid and worried. Like, oh my God, what if something goes wrong? What if the door isn't locked? What if someone gets in? What if there's a gas leak? What if there's a fire? What if there's a car crash? Because what do you care? Dude, you just work there. Well, someone actually does have to care because they don't just work there. But we are selecting for the people that would rather, I don't want to have to care about if there's a fire or a gas leak or if there's an earthquake or if a tree gets blown onto the roof of the Burger King. I just work there, dude. I don't care about this shit. So I don't got to go to work one day if someone breaks the windows. That's who Americans are. That's the American. That's why you'll notice a lot of business owners, especially like if you come to a lot of like small business owners, a lot of like ground level, kind of like mom and pop, you'll notice they're ran by immigrants and owned by immigrants because immigrants aren't They aren't Americans. They come into this country and they're like, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's my ass if this place fails, but goddamn, it's also, I reap the rewards if it succeeds. So I'm going to roll the dice and see what happens. Americans are trained to be very risk averse in that sense. All things that don't create good leaders, right? So I think that's where it comes from. I think that's why we don't have leaders, is because we don't create them. We've made a life, so the way your average American experiences life, it's the government and other social things kind of pulling all the roadblocks away from you and propping you up and helping you succeed when maybe you should have failed. And I think that's probably also the big thing. Is when people are supposed to fail, we let them, we pretend they succeed. But here's the thing, right? If I take a spelling test and I know damn well I can't spell any of these words, but then you just look at me and go, no, it's good, it's fine, you passed. I know the truth. I know you're lying to me. I know I don't know how to spell these words. And so I'm the one who suffers. I'm the one who carries the burden, not you, not the teachers and the schools and the boards. That's one specific example, but this extrapolates, right? They don't carry any burden here. What do they care? Easier for them to pass people instead of fail them. Makes them look better. But the kids, the students, they're the ones who are like, but wait a minute, that isn't true. I don't know my multiplication tables. Why are you just passing me? Because then here's the thing. Every time for their entire life, when they're expected to know that and be good at that and proficient at that, if they don't go out on their own to become proficient at that, it's just like shame. You're just imparting shame on people. You're covering up their failures for them and preventing them from ever accepting their failures and then growing and becoming better people on the other end. And so they just carry it around as like something to be self-conscious about, something to be concerned about, something to like a soft spot, right? Like seriously, if you fail every damn spelling test and they just pass you, you're probably always going to be very self-conscious about your spelling. Because I was just kind of pushed along. I didn't actually ever learn this stuff. So anyway, this went longer than I thought. I did not plan to go almost 2 hours again. But again, I have so much fun. I feel terrible. I will post the Discord. Yeah, I feel terrible. I do not. It's been a very, very, very difficult. Not difficult, sorry. Difficult, sorry. But it's a very, very trying last year and a half or whatever. So there's a lot of things that definitely ball got dropped on. I would have liked to have done a lot better than I actually did. However, I'll create the invite to this. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll poke in. Either way, I love you guys to hang out, that hang with me. But if we do start really ramping it up again, that'll happen, right? But yeah, there's the link to it. Nah, you can't compel people to being leaders, man. You can't force. There's some people you can force into being leaders because they're just natural born leaders and they won't let themselves fail themselves by not rising to the occasion. But that's like nobody, dude. Most people, if you push leadership on them, they'll just grow to resent it. They'll grow to resent us for looking up to them because they never asked for this. That's what happens. Not always, but that happens almost always, a lot of the time. It becomes a soft spot. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just kind of I feel like are universal truths. This is one of the biggest ones. It's one of the. How about this? A little bit of food for thought, and let me know, guys. Let me know in the chat if you disagree with me on this. But just a little food for thought. I've always believed the fastest way to turn two groups of people on each other is just to create a perception that one of them gets preferential treatment. That's it. Doesn't even have to be real. It can just be perception. Because the group or the person that feels like they're being treated better than the other person, and they know they're no better than these people, they're just getting treated better than these people for no reason, they will start to kind of preemptively resent those people so as not to feel guilty about basically screwing them over all the time. I hope I worded that right. But I think that's something that, I don't know, it worries me. I see that happen a lot. where it's concerning, where it's like they're trying to, it's like it's always someone's getting better, someone's getting one over on you, someone's getting it better than you, and then you're getting one over on other people, you're getting it better than other people. You should be like, you have a target on your back. You should be worried. You should be concerned. You should. It's just madness, man. It's how you turn people against each other, though, which is the classic strategy. People at the top forever. You just turn people at the bottom on each other, man. Make them fight each other. Well, I'll be getting another. Honestly, if Cardin has to take a step back for a while, I'll probably just redo the entire channel and I might make a new channel, actually, just my own personal channel, or just redo this one to be like my personal channel. Not sure yet. Again, right now, I'm not really. Obviously, you can probably tell I'm not actually really going full gung ho, turning this channel into a business and an income. It's kind of just a fun outlet for me right now. I just enjoy hanging out with you guys and talking to you guys for now. I might look at it as another kind of more serious project later, but I'm planning a few more creative, similar YouTube podcast projects. Mostly just because, just to give me something to do. I have other stuff I work on outside of this, but I do like making stuff like this. Good creative outlet, so to speak. A creative outlet. So I might look into doing just a separate channel that has nothing to do with politics. So I can have more fun. So I don't have to be in a bad mood all the time when I do these live streams, thinking of all the godless shitheads that rule over us and make life hell. You know what I mean? It's just, Cardin's, like I said, Cardin's just busy. He's got a family, kids, job. It's a lot of stuff going on for him. I'm coming around to the idea more and more that we already live in an empire. We don't live in a democratic republic. We live in an empire already, man. The supreme authority located in the state. Whatever the state says is true is true. Whatever the state says is wrong is wrong. Whatever the state says is right is right. They do as they please, and they're unaccountable. I don't know what else you call that, man. Well, Cardin does. I don't really, which is the reason why I'm still doing this. I do other things, but no, it's just, in jest. I really don't have a bunch of other stuff that keeps me super busy outside of just my projects and other kind of work stuff I do. Whereas, Cardin has family responsibilities and other stuff like that. But any other last questions or any other stuff you guys want to ask me, just get out of the way and I'll wrap up here in a few minutes. I don't think I missed out. I forgot anything. There's always normally we'll wrap and I'll be like, oh god, there was nothing I wanted to talk about and talk about. But no, I think there's a few what is it? A few different video topics I might want to do a little bit in the future. I look forward to. Favorite color, probably blue. I don't know. It's tough for me to say favorite color, but probably blue. Even though, actually, because it depends. A lot of things I like orange, but I wouldn't say orange is my favorite color. But there would be times where I would pick the orange option over anything else. But the Newsom recall, never gonna happen. Is my gut feeling. Thoughts on the Time article? I'm not saying they're supervillains, but it's kind of like when the supervillain has to tell the hero his plan. Like this was so genius, someone must know. It was kind of, again, I'm not saying it's supervillains, but it kind of felt like they were like, we were so genius, we it was so effective, people have to know. And it's like, even though if they explain what they did to people, it's gonna make them sound evil, they don't care. It's like, just people had to know. It's like, it's like if a waffle served in Brooklyn and no one takes a picture of it. Did it ever exist? Let's see. The Great Reset stuff is just Germans being Germans, man. Like, this is pretty standard German thought as far as I know it. Hey, maybe us big brain Europeans should actually rule the world and tell everyone how to live. Yeah, that only happens every 100 years. Like, yeah, that's That's what I think of it, man. I think some people look way too far into it and think it's like this right crazy thing. I think some people just, for no reason, hand wave and dismiss it. Dude, it's just like every 100 years, German people get it in their heads that they're the people who deserve to rule the world. And they try to come up with some reason for why they should. And Klaus Schwab doing the same damn thing with the Great Reset. Him and all of his friends over at the EU, mostly ran by... There tends to be a theme with these German people and philosophers and thinkers. And the German people seem to come to the same conclusion politically a lot. Cara Dune getting canceled. I don't know what Cara Dune is. But as far as canceling goes, it's part of life, man. Like, how do I put it? It's just, Americans are heartless people, man. That's the heartlessness in action. Well, here's something interesting. You say, why do the NHS in the UK handle COVID so poorly? However, I believe maybe the COVID probably was handled poorly, but I think they're doing good with the vaccines. So, I can't really answer. I know it is really obviously interesting. I know that the UK screwed over continental Europe on vaccines, and that's not screw them over, but like there's literally factories in continental Europe creating vaccines and then shipping them across the channel to England, even though France and Germany are like desperate for vaccines because the UK, which is no longer part of the European Union, made agreements with these manufacturers ahead of time, I believe is the story. So it's also, why did the NHS handle anything? Dude, the NHS is... I think things like the NHS are no longer feasible with the way the world works now. For example, the way the NHS, as far as I understand it, when it was originally put forward, the National Health Services or whatever in the UK, was originally put forward... Oh, Gina Carano, I'll get that one in a second. But originally was put forward at the end of... Was it the First World War or the Second World War? Anyways, like, look, we have to come up with universal health care. And the way they kind of rationalized it, but the way they planned it out was... Obviously, when you're young, 90% of young, healthy people don't really have to go to the doctor for very much. And they will pay into the system despite not really needing to go that much. But then when they're older and they do maybe need to go to the doctor more and they maybe do need to kind of get more prescriptions and stuff and it is more expensive for them and they are kind of taking more out than they're putting in, they had put in more than they took out in the past. So on the average, it'll balance out and we'll be able to afford to pay for it. I believe that was kind of the idea, which makes sense, right? Like, yeah, like by and large, it's probably going to be mostly older, retired people that are really going to be using a lot of the healthcare. And it's going to be a lot of the young working people who can probably afford to pay it a little bit and not always be using it, right? Well, now we have planes and boats that are really easy to commercial travel. And you have the issue of just tourism, people just flying into the UK and getting some stuff done, and they had to for years, and I'm sure they have stricter things now, but they had to address that. They had to say, oh no, like we have to make it harder for people who aren't actual citizens to come in and just use their healthcare and leave, right? But then you also have just the way immigration is just like the way immigration is viewed has changed over the years. It really has. I mean, I believe Biden is planning to give 11 million illegal aliens. I have no idea what they actually mean by these people. Are they extended on their visa? Did they just sneak over the border illegally and somehow we know they're here but haven't deported? Like, are they just allowed to live as second-class citizens? I don't know what group they're talking about, but whatever. It's good that they're ending the second-class citizen thing, giving them citizenship. My only point is, if you have some kind of NHS system where there's this idea that it's like you pay in for 50 years and then you kind of cash out for 20, it's just incongruent with we're just going to add 11 million citizens one year, which is the way immigration works in the modern world is like that. Like, they'll just be like, hey, something's going on in some country. We're blowing some country up. So literally hundreds of thousands of people are fleeing into our countries on a weekly basis. A little bit hyperbolic, but that's what governments operate as now. So you can't really have systems anymore where it's like you pay in when you're young and take out when you're old, because so many people are not living their whole life in America. They're coming from other places, and it really strains the system. I think that's one of the problems the NHS has, is because it's how it was originally, from how I understand, how it was originally planned and working. That's just not how the English government works anymore. England isn't a country of predominantly English people with not that many immigrants. It's not a country with it's like London. People London praises itself for being like a global city. Like, you walk down the street in London, you're 40 languages. And it's because, they want people coming in from all these different countries. But it makes these guaranteed services you provide to citizens tough because citizens are kind of bouncing in and out all the time. I don't know what is... I'm going to guess Yang's stance on BDS is he's not for it. He's against it because he's running for mayor of New York City, which is wise. Ultimately, dude, like, I gotta be honest. I feel like it is weird how many people have, like, deep opinions on Israel to me. Gotta be honest. I get that we give them a lot of money. They're one of the biggest allies, all that stuff, yada, yada. But it's like, we give Pakistan money. And they're just, like, chill, right? like, Pakistan doesn't violate human rights at all. I mean, it's like, it is weird. I feel like it's just political BS, to be honest. Definitely smart of Yang to not, if I believe I'm understanding this correctly, not walk right into it and just start condemning some random foreign country because it's a hip thing to do. That's my stance on it. It's just like, it's really weird. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot that we live in this rainbow sunshine world where no countries do anything wrong, and then there's Israel. It's like, so why are people so upset on them? Anyways, what was the last thing? I'm not in Cali, and I didn't move to the winter vortex either. I'm in southern Nevada, so I'm just in a good spot. Exactly. What is the mayor of New York City? Other than a lot of Jewish people live in New York City, what does the mayor of New York City have to do with Israel, A? And B, I don't know how many people live in New York City are like Israelis. I think a lot of them are just Jewish, right? A lot of them are probably American New Yorkers. Then, obviously, they probably, being, if you're people with Jewish faith, Israel is also a very important country, but it's like, it's not like there's a bunch of Israeli immigrants, I don't think, swarming New York City. Probably a lot more just New York-born Jews that live in New York City. So, it is weird that it's like the New York City mayor, he's got a bunch of opinions on this. It makes more sense for a congressperson because they're at least voting on these bills in office. Like, what does a mayor of New York City do? What do you think is currently a worse place to live? America or North Korea is going to be a worse place to live. Here's the thing. America's kind of like, it's like a padded cell, right? Can't leave, but it's soft at least. Like, there really isn't that many better places to go, man. That's the sad truth. Like, for example, let's say you think New Zealand's awesome and you want to go to New Zealand. They're not letting you in, man. New Zealand is turning people away at the door. They're just fine for the next few years. And then if you're a New Zealander, they're not too keen on you leaving either. They're kind of fine with you staying in the country for a few years. I mean, like, there isn't like a whole bunch of better places. I would say the U.S. has been in decline for quite some time. Why do we give so much more to foreign countries? Tell you what, I have a theory. Rich people don't give money away. They buy things. So what are we buying in foreign countries is the question. I'm not sure. Whatever we're buying is worth a lot of money, though, I'll tell you that. Because we send a shitload of money. So we're buying expensive things in these countries. Expensive things. And you know what? Sometimes is the most expensive thing to buy. Most expensive thing to buy sometimes is to just, or the most expensive thing you could pay someone to do sometimes is just look the other way. Right? So maybe that's it. Maybe we just want some people in these countries to focus their attention elsewhere. Tell you what, keep your eye on the bag of money, and it's over there. Don't look over here. Look at the bag of money. But yeah, I mean, rich people, powerful people, influential people, they don't give away shit. They buy things. They purchase things. They invest in things. They don't give money away. They trick us into giving money away. Like it's something they do. It isn't. Sorry, I'm getting ornery again. Well, I mean, you can't even follow the money. You can see where the money goes to, but it's like, if you're just paying someone, if you're bribing someone to look the other way, you can't even follow the money because you're just someone on the chain is just not doing their job fully. And how do you really prove they're getting bribed? Just, I don't know. Yeah, not my department. Not my department, man. I don't know. But yeah, just thinking about that, man. The U.S. government isn't giving anybody anything. Just think of it that way. Actually, there's nothing scarier than if some rich person or some rich company or if the U.S. government just handed me a bag of money and I was some small country, I'd say get that the hell out of here. I don't want to touch it. I want nothing to do with that money. Because as soon as you spend that money, you're going to find out what they bought. You're going to find out what that money was for. Hey, buddy, remember we gave you a big bag of money? Look, we're going to need to use your airspace to fly some planes that technically aren't really supposed to be in this area. But hey, we go back. Remember when I gave you the bag of money? We go back. We're cool. So how about you let us get away with this? What are they going to do? Say no to the United States of America after they just took a bag of money from them? That's smart. Tell you what, do you know there's some people who tried that? And for some reason, all of a sudden, America has to go to war with them. And they have to be executed brutally in public by all of their people. It's weird. It just has to happen. I could see the U.S. holding as the main reserve currency for just kind of like BS legacy reasons for a while. How about this? Bigger question is, does China want their currency to be the reserve currency, or would they rather America was? Does that benefit China? That's the real question, right? Because if we are following around the idea of China surpassing America, if the cards are in their hand, do they actually want to make that happen or not? But it's again. Maybe I'm a bit too self-deprecating on this. Maybe I'm a bit too cynical on this. But I understand all my very, very human weaknesses and flaws that I have. I know all the times where it's just in a very human way. There's that compulsion or that urge to be weak and to make the easy choice. I understand all this stuff. I know times where I've been petty and I've been mean and I don't like it. It actually bothers me, and I try to sit around and think about why that happened and what was it. I try to think what were the feelings I was feeling at that time when I did that. What caused me to act this way? And it's all the same stuff. You read books, you watch movies, you follow history, you follow the news. It's like, yeah, dude, tell you what, it's weird. The same weak moments that you experience, those same moments of weakness, those times when you say no, when you wish you said yes, or the inverse. The reasons you make those decisions are probably the same reason all the other weak people make their decisions, man. It's reality. How about this? That class leader brought up something interesting. He said, hear about the new website or app that Chinese citizens got on, and then they learned that the Chinese government tried or hacked it, and now they're all scared of the government finding out what they said on the site. I mean, well, I can guarantee you, again, I'm a human being with weaknesses and flaws. I can guarantee you, man, if Americans thought that journalists got a hold of their private communications, they'd be shitting their pants thinking of what they said. They'd have the fear, the same, probably, maybe not the same, but they'd have a similar fear of God those Chinese citizens have. It's all relative, man. It's all relative. Who wouldn't? It's really China's vertically integrated. Their harassing of citizens, where the U.S. government outsources harassing people for opinions to journalists. The U.S. government hasn't vertically integrated yet. It's not at the point where it's like top down, where it's like we spy on you, we snitch on you, we rat on you, we punish you. They outsource like the ratting and the snitching. They spy on you and punish you though. Yeah. Honestly, I hate Clubhouse. I think Clubhouse sounds like one of the worst ideas ever. Clubhouse sounds like a place where cool kids get together and gatekeep all the good rooms. I could only imagine being a high schooler when Clubhouse existed, where all like the cool kids invite you into their Clubhouse room just so they can make fun of you and berate you and then kick you out. I'm just imagining of all the innovations in bullying and just depraved snitching and nonsense we see on social media that can happen through Clubhouse. I mean, you can easily record everything someone says in Clubhouse and deceptively edit it to make it sound like they really did something different. Yeah, it sounds like the absolute worst idea possible. And you could tell by Clubhouse being astroturfed and pushed by a bunch of big industries and celebrities and websites. That's how you know it's awful and evil and anti-human, is because all the anti-human propagandists are pushing it in your face. That's how I look at it. That's how I view Clubhouse, at least. Yeah, Signal, Telegram, top apps downloaded. It's because people are petrified of the journalists, really. It's really people are petrified of the journalists that troll social media to ruin random people's lives for no reason. People are petrified of them. For good reason. I mean, someone asked me before about Gina Carano. It's like, yeah, dude, if you piss these people off every time you say anything, they're just going to harass your employer to fire you. Like Gina Carano, no offense, you're a fool if you think Gina Carano was fired because of whatever her latest Instagram post was. The same group of people have been trying to get her fired for like 6 months. Like, yeah, that truly was the final straw that broke the camel's back. No, I'm assuming Disney just kind of got tired of these same people endlessly harassing them. And they're just like, God damn, fine, we'll fire her. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, XJ23Z, keep it up. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, dude, I am much more terrified of accidentally speaking my thoughts in front of a blue checkmark journalist on Twitter than I am of accidentally speaking my thoughts on some weird dark corner of the internet, right? Like, God, the thought of some verified journalist watching any of my live streams, man. Doesn't matter, man. They're like you ever see the episode of Twilight Zone with the little kid? I think Timmy was his name. He had like psychic powers, and he could like make things happen. And when people pissed him off, he'd wish them into the cornfield, and everyone was like terrified. And like if they were ever in the same room as him, they would just like freeze and be like, "Oh, hi there, Timmy. I hope you're having a good day today." And then they'd get out of there and be like, "Oh my God, that was so close. I almost got wished into the cornfield." That's how people act around journalists, man. It's like they'll be hanging out and all of a sudden they see a journalist like, "Oh, hi there, journalist. I am, you are correct. I believe you." And then like, "Oh my God, oh shit, dude. Imagine if I would have said something. They would have called my mom, my dad, my boss, my great-grandparent. They would have called my high school football coach, my college basketball coach, and they would have called the guy who works out next to me at the gym and just told him to hate me because I'm evil." It's like, well, you know what, Challenger of the World, though? That all that means is you're free. You're free, man. These people, they're no better than you, man. Yeah, trust me. No one ever had a toxic, socially inept period of their life. That's totally unique. I'm not saying that to poke fun at you. What I'm saying is they have the same fear you do, man. What I'm saying is you could do one of two things. You can either free yourself from that burden and say, "I am who I am. I know who I am. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. I know who I am. I know what I mean." Or you can live in fear and you can let it rot away at you. You can which I'm assuming is what happens. I don't think these people that become these weird tattletale journalists are like evil. But I think they know. Dude, let me tell you something. This happened a lot in like authoritarian countries. People would write about this, right? If your neighbor, if you help your neighbor get sent to the work camps because you snitched, like, "Oh, like he actually wasn't like doing whatever," right? Then you know that hear about this. Better way of phrasing up how these people feel. There's a Twilight Zone. It's an old Twilight Zone episode. I'm using no Twilight Zone reference, but there's an old Twilight Zone episode and a short story. There's multiple versions of it, but this is the version I prefer, right? So there's a man and a woman. They're sitting in the living room one day. They get a knock at the door. They open the door. There's a weird man in a suit holding a box. He's like, "Hey, can I have a moment of your time?" Anyway, he comes in and he explains to them. He says, "Look, I'm going to make a deal for you. In this box, there's a button. And if you press the button in this box, someone somewhere will die. But you'll get $1 million. And I'll leave this box here for you for a day, and you guys can just decide if you want to take just some random stranger's life. But you get $1 million, right?" And again, there's multiple tellings of the story, but the man and the woman, they go back and forth, and ultimately they decide, okay, they're going to press it, right? So they press the button, some random person somewhere dies, right? And suddenly, nothing happened, they get their money. They were kind of waiting for something to happen, right? But no, they get their money, and the man, he's picking up the box, and he's turning to walk away. Like, okay, great doing business with you guys, someone just died, but here's your money. And suddenly, as he's turning to walk away with that box, this man and this woman become real fucking interested in where that box goes next. Right? Like, well, hold on a minute. What happens to the box now? And in my favorite version of the story, the man just looks back at them and he says, don't worry. It'll be going to somebody that you'll never met. And the significance of that being, that is exactly what he told to them when they were concerned about who died. They're like, but if I press the button and someone dies, what if it's someone I know? And he goes, don't worry. Somebody you'll never meet. And then right as that box is leaving out their front door, they're like, but where does it go next? It's going to somebody you'll never meet. That's how these journalists live. And I'm not talking about news reporters. I'm talking about the people who live to just ruin people's lives that have verified Twitter accounts. Talking about those people. That's how they live, man. Every day when they catch somebody saying the wrong thing and try to get them fired for it, they know damn well that box is going out the door to someone else. And one day it's going to be them. One day someone presses that button, they get $1 million and they die. It isn't always them pressing the button. And they know it, man. That's why they're fearful, awful, deranged people. They're not born that way. They've lived that way and become that. They've literally created that. They've spoken it into existence. It's the same thing with like people, I guess, like authoritarian people in states. Like, dude, let me tell you something. You think the guy who drove people to the gulags didn't know how easy it is to get sent to the gulags? You think the guy didn't feel guilty about being the one driving him there? You think he didn't know that that's going to be me one day? And if you want to look at getting banned off Twitter as kind of like the digital gulag, which it's not harmless, but it's digital. You're not actually going to the work camp. But yeah, you're banned off Twitter if you want to look at it that way. These people that are driving the reins to get people banned and removed from everything, they know, man. They know one day it's gonna be them. And that's why they're so fearful and paranoid, I believe. Because they live in a way that breeds fear and paranoia in yourself. When you live that way, I mean, hey, what do you know? When you treat people unfairly, it starts to eat away at you. And again, these are all just I'm not a trained psychologist, but as a weak, feeble human being who goes through a lot of these same things and tries to be a better person by overcoming them, that is what I see. I see the same thought processes I have had in the past and continue to have and strive to purge being indulged. And it's concerning. Well, to be honest, I don't know what the Bling Empire is. Or Bling Empire. I'm not Frank, but I'm behind on a lot of stuff. But yeah, so I'll go to just the another few minutes here to the top. I ended up going over it longer than I thought, but I just have fun doing this stuff. I like hanging out with you guys and talking. Just have again. I think like, that's the bigger thing is I really do need to just have a moan every now and then. It makes me feel a lot better, and if you guys want to hang out for it, all the better. Oh, it's a TV show on Amazon. Not Amazon, Netflix. I don't watch Netflix. I used to like Netflix, not anymore. I mean, I learned about one of my top 3 films in my life, a movie that I go back to all the time. I will literally pull up individual scenes on YouTube to watch because just I love them. I love the movie so much. I would have never found out about that movie if it wasn't for Netflix. So, I do always Netflix helped me discover a lot of films, but I can't. Their business model really pissed me off, man. I liked Netflix because it helped me discover old films and TV shows, and then they turn around and kick all the old films and TV shows and just force their not. I don't like watching new. I'm a really dude. Don't ever apologize, man. We're all just human beings living in this life. Oh, sorry. Movie is called Beckett. I tell you what, I recommended one movie earlier. You got one for free. I'll give you one more free movie recommendation. Not everyone's gonna love it, but it's two of the all-time get great British actors, just stealing every scene from each other they possibly can. One of the more, just seriously, one of the best acting performances put to film I've seen. Richard Burton as Thomas Beckett is amazing, and then Peter O'Toole as King Henry, I want to say, absolutely is. I think I prefer Richard Burton's performance, but Peter O'Toole brings to that character exactly what that character needed. He plays it brilliantly. And the thing is, it's a movie about British history that was made in England, starring British actors or English actors. I don't think either of them are, or what's the word I'm looking for? Actors from the United Kingdom. I don't think either of them are from England. I think Richard Burton's like Welsh or something. But anyways, absolutely kind of movie they literally don't make anymore. They don't make movies like this anymore. It's not even an American movie. I believe it is an English production. For that reason, again, no one really talks about it in America. I think Richard Burton is this just kind of forgotten actor. Amazing actor. I mean, he had a ridiculous career. He was in Exorcist 2, but hey, not everyone is a perfect career. I mean, and then Peter O'Toole, like Lawrence of Arabia, one of the all-time great actors. Actually, to this day, one of the most fun. Every time I watch Beckett, it bothers me when especially when Richard Burton and Peter O'Toole, they have a couple of really big emotional scenes together, and it's like those guys were nominated for a combined 21 Academy Awards and have 0 wins. That was when I first realized the Academy is legitimately a joke. Because I was thinking, I'm like, wait, neither of them won for this movie? And then I was thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. Peter O'Toole didn't win for Lawrence of Arabia? And then I was like, wait a minute. He didn't win for The Ruling Class? I'm like, wait a minute. And it's like, no. Like, dude, what crap, dude? What crap? In 1984? Yeah, there we go. 1984, Richard Burton. I mean, again, that was... I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm a really big Richard Burton fan. I feel like O'Brien was like a role he was made for. That is just like... Richard Burton excels in just those, just I want not even like cruel or evil, but just very stern and serious, and like my personal favorite role of his. I think he was better in Beckett. My personal favorite role of his is a film called The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. He basically, I think he's in it. I think he's in literally every scene of the movie. No, it's like 2 scenes. Like he carries the film beginning to end. Like it's a movie about his character, and he's. Again, very, very good. Unreal. I mean, just unreal talented actor. Very troubled individual. But he passed away a while ago, I think. But yes. Oh yeah, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? He didn't win for that. Like just all the movies they were in, they didn't. Both of them were in. Like the iconic movies they were in and the iconic roles they had, and they just didn't win. It's like nah. And honestly, I think it's because they are English, man. We're not as Americans, we base our entire history of this is one thing I think is funny. Even people who like hate America and they hate the English and they hate colonists and they hate colonialization and all that, whatever they want to say. The bottom line is, if you were born in an English-speaking country and speak English as your primary language, your entire worldview is shaped by the English. Just the reality. For example, I mean, Richard Burton died in 1984. 1984, yeah, a while ago. I mean, he was Welsh, troubled man, troubled life, but a great actor. Shit, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, I'm just gonna go another few minutes here, wrap it up at the top of the hour. But oh yeah, it's funny. It's like like for example, the entire way that Americans and people that are growing up speaking English from English-speaking countries and predominantly America or Canada, maybe others, right? What was I say? We look at things. We look at things through the lens of the English people, right? Like the fact that Napoleon is just known as like people think of Napoleon as like this short, angry, evil guy who's just like starting wars all over the place, and it's like that is literally the English propaganda because England hated Napoleon because Napoleon had taken over Europe and was blockading. He took over Europe just to make sure none of the European countries could trade with England. I mean, it was like they were at war with each other for years. England and France hate each other. Hey, they fought the 100 Years' War, right? So it's like the fact that we look at French as like, so the surrender, oh, French always surrender. That just comes from English always hating the French. And we're being Americans, we speak English. We don't hear the French side of any of this. We hear the English side of it from the English people. Oh, the French, blah, blah, blah. So we've just adopted that as canon. That's just part of the English-speaking world's canon. Is that the French are weak, cowardly, surrender, Napoleon was short. It's like, none of that was really true. The English just hate the French, and they taught us everything we know about the world before America. Exactly, yeah. Why is it that we're closer allies with England, even though we fought a war against the English to get their king to no longer rule over us? And then we did that with the assistance of the French, because the French hated the English at the time. And now, all of a sudden, we're just buddy-buddy with England, but France is bad. It's because we speak English. English is so important. Oh my god, dude! You know what's funny about that classy nerd? I'm not like a Napoleon stan, but I'm like an interesting character. I spend a lot of my free time just kind of learning about Napoleon and the Napoleonic era and the wars and stuff. And what's funny is, well, remember, keep in mind the timeline of history. It had been some time since the end of the 100 Years' War, when you're getting into the American Revolution. You know, the American Revolution wasn't necessarily just like the war that was fought, right? But during the American Revolution, there was middle to later part of the 1700s, right? Well, remember, the French Revolution happened at the very end of the 18th century, like 1797, I want to say something like that. And when the French Revolution happened, England immediately tried. This one thing's funny. It's something we don't talk about a lot either. It's not part of American history it talks about a lot. The French Revolution was brutal, it was insane, and it was honestly probably a bad thing. However, it was this revolution of liberty, repelling tyrants. It was very romantic and very much appealed to the American sensibilities, considering how recently we had just had our revolution for kind of similar reasons. We didn't have a bunch of insane communists kill everybody like the French Revolution had. I'm not even saying like disparage communism as like a, potential economic system, but I'm just saying like that was literally what happened. Like a bunch of people that basically, they weren't actually communist yet, but basically like socialist communists just got in charge of a country, did not know how to run it, went insane, got paranoid, and just sort of kind of executing everyone until it ended. Anyway, but what's interesting is a little bit of this is off the rails, me just talking about stuff that I think is interesting. But what's really interesting about that was after the French executed their monarchs and declared themselves a nation free of monarchs, free of tyrants, a nation of free men, right? Every single monarchical kingdom that surrounded them tried to invade them at some point. They fought what they called the Revolutionary Wars. Predominantly was England. It was actually during these Revolutionary Wars when all of these monarchies were turning around and trying to crush France so the French people wouldn't start putting ideas in all these other people's heads that you could just kill your king and depose him and make yourselves the ruler. They all rushed to invade France and put an end to this nonsense right now. There's monarchs and kings. There is not free people leading nations, not in Europe, maybe in America, but not here. And then, during these revolutionary wars, Napoleon rose to prominence by helping the French fight off particularly the English invaders. And then you would see about 20 years straight of multiple coalitions being formed to crush France. And once again, these were all coalitions of monarchs. A bunch of kings got together and said, those people without a king can't live that way. And what's interesting is you can look at it in a way that over the long term, France won out because World War One. By the time World War One came around, we were kind of having the opposite happen. You had a bunch of republics with no king. I mean, like England monarch, but constitutional monarch. I mean, you had a bunch of these defanged monarchs over republics, targeting the last few kind of true monarchical empires existing in Europe, with the backing of the Americans. The main democratic republic that rejected monarchy. They were like the main guns that went over there at the end to really finish it off, right? But those were it was mostly liberal democracies fighting against authoritarian monarchs at the end there. I don't know. It was a very interesting 100 years from the beginning of 1800 to the early part of 1900 in Western Europe. It was really, really a lot. And but sorry, just the last thing I want to wrap up on, because we're actually getting to the top of the hour, so it's going to end on that classy nerd. You said, I like to think of Napoleon as a friend of Ezio Auditore. Dude, I know you got the wrong one, but when I actually I'd never played that game. Recently on YouTube, I saw the little clip of Napoleon speaking in a British accent, and I just couldn't believe it, man. I was like, I cannot believe they have Napoleon speaking in a British accent. Like, what is this? the mortal enemy. Like that would literally be like that'd be like having like Osama bin Laden just speak with like a Texas accent. Hey there, fellers. I'm Osama bin Laden. It's like, it was just like the most bizarre thing. So it was like, I don't know. I thought it was funny you brought that up, because I just recently came across that on YouTube, and I was like, what is this? Why? They hate each other. It is interesting, though, and I guess the reason why I wanted to bring that up, the reason why I went on that whole tangent, the reason why I even think it's interesting to me is just because, I mean, the Napoleonic era, which is actually kind of funny too. You think of like literally like Napoleon Bonaparte, his era was like 20 years, 30 years. It was not long, right? But that realistically wasn't that long ago. But it seems to be just long enough ago where we can look at it objectively. Probably because America wasn't involved in those conflicts. And it's just really interesting to me. You can see how like pretty transparently the French were being attacked by monarchies because they rejected monarchy, more or less. And they were pissing off the church, too. That's part of it as well. But pissing off the church was not nearly as threatening as killing a king. But it's just funny, And in hindsight, Napoleon was some evil dictator tyrant. I love it. Like, English scholars have since tried to say Napoleon was basically the proto-Hitler. It's like, I don't know about that, man. I don't remember the ethnic cleansing stuff with Napoleon, but are we gaming now or what? Ooh, I'll tell you what. Not right now today, but I actually can. I actually have like my big obnoxious gaming computer. So I can stream some VR games, guys. You want to watch that? You want to see me work on my my longsword technique? Speaking of, dude, when I can get in the VR, show you guys my fencing technique. Fencing, dude. Some hand snipes, some wrist snipes. Pretty good stuff, man. Especially against stupid AI. I don't know what to do. You just snipe the wrists. Yeah, I mean, hey, you want my favorite Napoleonic era film? I brought it up earlier. Is Master and Commander. Because Master and Commander not only takes part during the Napoleonic era, it also really leans on some of the characters of that era. Some of the famous people. I've played Beat Saber. I don't have it. The VR games I have right now, H3 VR, Pavlov, and Blade and Sorcery. Those are the only ones. I mostly just play Pavlov and Blade and Sorcery. Yeah, Paul Bettany. Yeah, dude, I'm just saying, speaking of, remember, keep in mind, when you go back a couple hundred years, a lot of these bad historical figures really just crossed the British. That's why we think of them as evil. Master and Commander is not on Netflix, but it is on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you can go on Amazon streaming. It's Russell Crowe, amazing. Paul Bettany, very, very good. And then a lot of smaller British actors, I don't know as much. It's just that it's one of those kind of like, just like, feats of filmmaking where, I mean, it's the whole movie's basically in this boat and the sets and the right now I just have an Oculus Quest 2. I do definitely eventually want to step up to something with finger tracking, maybe higher resolution. But I just feel like I don't want to invest more than a few $100s in VR right now because I just feel like we're still at like VR version 0.5. Like I think there's going to be some crazy leaps in technology and like just very good headsets with very good controllers are going to get much more affordable, I think, in just a few years. So I'm holding off on doing like a full index purchase, but that's just what I think. I might end up just having to buy an index 2 years from now for $1,000 or whatever. But for now, I'm just using the Quest 2. I will say I recommend the Quest 2 for anyone who is looking for. It's not cheap; it's $300, but I mean, like relatively speaking to what getting into VR used to be. For someone like me, just get into it. I love it, man. Hey, Kenneth, personally, I love the movie. If you like old boats and the Napoleonic Wars, cannons, sails, grape shot, all that stuff, it's one of the best versions of it ever put to film. I mean, it just opens up with this really awesome scene. It really just never lets up. And also, I mean, if you watch that movie and then you ever do happen to stumble upon some stories of actual real sea captains that existed around that time, it's kind of like a pastiche of all of the greatest legends and heroes of like the English Navy and all their stuff put together in like one guy. But Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany, both great actors, man. Russell Crowe. I remember the first time I ever saw Russell Crowe. He really impressed me and blew me away. Was I don't want to say impressed me and blew me, but the first time I saw Russell Crowe in a movie, and I'm like, whoa, that guy's a good actor. And I hope it was him. Now I'm like paranoid it wasn't him. Proof of Life, name of the film. Yeah, and I mean this was Jesus, man. I know a lot of you guys watching probably look at me and think that I look pretty young. I feel so old finding out that Proof of Life came out 21 years ago, man. That's a good movie, dude. It's like David Caruso's in it. But just pulling up, let me show you guys. I'm pulling this movie up and looking at a picture, looking at Russell Crowe and the cover of it. I mean, look at Russell Crowe here, man. Where is it? Whoa, that is how old this movie is. That is a young man. He's honestly probably close to my age at that point. Can't imagine he's he's probably around 50, right? 40s? Like I can't imagine he's like terribly that much different from my age there. But that's a pretty good, cool movie though. Also, I think him being younger is one of the reasons why too. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, what the hell? That's pretty good. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, Master and Commander had just amazing. Master and Commander is just like a technical feat of a film that I think has some pretty good performances on top of it, and then on top of that, if you like the theme of it, guys on boats shooting cannons at each other, it elevates it even higher, right? But even for someone who wasn't interested in sail and boat and shot and stuff like that, just the technical aspect of it and the performance, I think they're very solid. Like most people would walk away like, wow, that's a really cool movie. And then if you do have interest in that, it raises it up another level. Russell Crowe, I feel like Russell Crowe gets a lot of shit. I feel like that he doesn't deserve. I understand the whole fighting around the world and all that stuff, but as far as an actor, he's not. One other thing to say about Russell Crowe too. No, there's one thing. This is my last little crazy thought. I'm gonna wrap up on here. Ooh, I haven't watched The Crown yet, but the only reason why I haven't watched The Crown yet is because I'm really weird with historical stuff, and I heard they take too many liberties. So once I figure out how many liberties they take, I'll watch. Like I don't care if something isn't historically accurate. I just like to know what's bullshit and what isn't before I go in. Because not everything's going to be historically accurate. It's just not. But as long as I know what they're kind of fudging and what's kind of like a combination of this, or if they don't pretend to be like for example, again, I'm talking a lot about Master and Commander, but just that movie is what I'm talking about. That movie's it's based on real things, kind of, but it's nowhere is it like this really happened. It's just like this is the story from an era. I'm more better with movies like that. For example, even before Beckett, favorite movie of mine, I don't even really look at that as like a historical retelling. I look at it as just kind of like a dramatic version. Oop, you know what? I know I said it, but I guess I'll have to do one more. So my last movie recommendation for you guys Again, going old school. Not only going old school, I'm going to go, what's it called on you guys? Cold Dead Hands. What's his name? Charlton Heston. Whatever you think about Charlton Heston, I don't care. Because tremendous actor. Always, not always, but he gave a shit when he was in movies. And I very much recommend, last thing I'm going to recommend on the way out, last few of you guys hung in this long with me, is there's a movie. I think this one might still be on Netflix. I'm not sure. It's called The Agony and the Ecstasy. Very good film. Very good film. And Charlton Heston's amazing in it. Rex Harrison. I believe it's Rex Harrison. Very good in it as well. Very interesting movie. Look it up to see what it's about. If you don't really... I actually heard good things about Outlaw King. I'm such a nerd. I literally watch historical... I watch historical YouTubers review historical movies so I can get an idea of what was fudged and what wasn't. And yeah, I was it Outlaw King that had the fight between the two knights in armor where they actually wrestled each other and tried to stab each other with daggers and stuff? Was that Outlaw King, or was that they did a movie about King Henry or something too, or the Battle of whatever? They did one of the 100 Years' War as well. I don't remember. Oh, very cool. They show some of the actual stuff for the. That was The King, sorry. And I knew they came out with a few recently. Again, I haven't seen the movies, but I'm such a nerd. I literally watch YouTube videos about just historically accurate reviews of battles and movies and stuff because I'm interested in it. And it's something that again, weirdo nerd like me, I think it's funny. Not funny, but it's fun. It entertains me. I'm like, ooh, I wonder. But yeah, I heard Outlaw King did a really good job. I also have heard that the Netflix series Barbarians does actually a remarkably good job because the number one, I think the historical thing that Hollywood just doesn't give a shit about and screws up the most is Rome. They will literally just conflate the very beginnings of the Roman they'll just pull things from the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, they'll pull Byzantine stuff. It's just anything that was sort of kind of Roman. But I heard that Barbarians actually was very much to the era it was supposed to they actually they gave a shit, they asked people what should the costumes look like, what should they speak like, what kind of things should they wear this, should they wear that, and then they actually went through it and they did it correctly. But you know what's weird about me though is I literally don't like to consume media. Video games is a little bit different just because it's very new media. But movies, music, and books and stuff, I don't like to consume that stuff while it's culturally very relevant. Because I feel I have all this BS in my head of things other people said and reviews and expectations. If it's for example, when I just walk into some movie from the 60s completely blind, not knowing anything about it, I just feel I'm able to really kind of enjoy it more, Whereas opposed to for example, you think about the extreme I'll pull is Marvel Endgame, right? You think of all of the outside or another great example, the recent Star Wars movies, right? If you just watch those completely in a bubble with no outside stuff, most of them probably just kind of be whatever. They're kind of weird and they're not super well put together stories. They're kind of just things happening, but whatever, man. There's some cool scenes and the special effects are good, right? But if you watch it as this is it, Star Wars is back, the biggest movie of the year, then yeah, it kind of sucks and is frustrating. But if you don't have that burden and it's just a movie, you can watch it and be oh, okay, some of the special effects are pretty good, the story's kind of dumb, characters are really weak, but it's okay. And I think that just that's one of the reasons probably why I enjoy a lot of music and movies that I do is I just stumble into stuff from 30, something just 15, 20 years ago. Even stuff that just when it came out wasn't the super big cultural, for example, the movie brought up before, Proof of Life. I watched that movie when I was a kid, right when it came out. I was a 9-year-old watching that. I thought it was cool. Guys were shooting at each other. And then over the years, I've watched it more, and I kind of appreciate it as a pretty interesting movie. But that wasn't like, you know, like I had all this like cultural, pop culture BS about what to expect or think of it, or, oh, you like that movie? Movie's so dumb, or, oh, that, like, for example, like, it, you know, like, it's like any movie I watch with Kevin Spacey in it, I personally don't care, but like I can't put out of my mind that's Kevin Spacey, and he's very controversial now, and he basically never denied the things he was accused of, and it just kind of faded away into obscurity. It was really weird. He does those, like, you see those weird Kevin Spacey videos where he's just like, they're like these weird threatening videos directed to apparently nobody. He's posting on social media. It's like I can't separate that sometimes. I try really hard, but it's a lot easier not being alive when Richard Burton was a big star and having a big, you know, highly publicized divorce. Like, it's a lot easier to just go back and watch that guy's movies and not think about any of that stuff because I wasn't alive during it. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up now, guys. So anyways, anyone that hung out with me, thank you guys. I had a lot of fun. Again, I went way longer than I planned on. I need to figure out a better way of structuring these so I don't go so long. But yeah, I hope everyone has a great, hope everybody had a great President's Day, of course, first and foremost. And hey, I'll tell you what, Rasputin, I'll give you a little, tell you what, I'm going to end out with just shouting out YouTube channels I like, I guess, because I'm really bored, guys, but not bored, that's not what I'm putting it. I mean, I'm just kind of like hanging out, just kind of rambling now. But anyways, there's a, honestly, I could probably call this guy a kid. He's probably almost 10 years younger than me. But one of the YouTubers, as far as someone who has a YouTube channel and makes videos that I actually respect, because I think he gives a shit and he actually really cares about the content of his stuff. So the guy, you probably might have heard of him, is Ralph the Movie Maker. Anyways, if you want to talk about someone who watches bad or boring content just to psychologize the process that made it, that's like literally what that guy does for some of his reviews. And I've watched a lot of his stuff. I think he's hilarious. So I'd recommend that guy. But anyway, take care, everyone. Have a great President's Day. Remember before you go to bed tonight to, be very thankful for all the great presidents we've had. And beyond that, see you guys soon. Have a great week.